Chapter 379, That Summer Puff. After understanding the relationship between Yunxi and Miu Miu, Hua let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, even if she would become a threatening enemy in the future, at present, she was still a little girl who didn't understand what love was. She was still her personal property. As the inheritor of the sky-flying bloodline, she shouldn't have any weakness, but she did have one, Yunxi. She didn't ever dare to imagine what would happen if she lost him. From her childhood, she knew she wouldn't have any friends, because the children of the same age couldn't possibly begin to understand the world she was in. When she was small, she once aroused her bloodline, eliminating a group of enemies who tried to do something to her. The power of the sky-flying bloodline would become stronger and stronger when she was in a desperate situation. Nothing could suppress the wings of freedom. She was born to be strong, so she had to suppress her true power in normal times. Even so, people still said that she was a monster and avoided her. Till that day, she had her first friend in the small town, where she was originally planning to have a temporary rest. No, not the friend who got close to her for her bloodline, not the friend who worried about annoying her, fearing of her power. It was a friend who simply treated her like a common girl. He didn't mind her past, and didn't even ask where she was from. She would never forget that summer. After being betrayed and losing the trust of her family, she lost control of her bloodline power and killed a lot of people. After that, she was driven away by her family. They said that it was a vacation, but everyone knew that she was exiled. She came to the White Lotus Sword domain in desperation. In a foul mood, she started to play a game with herself. A game named Build a Castle and Crash It. Then, she met him. He probably doesn't remember it. When he tried to talk to her, her so-called parents shook all over with fear. They were actually her distant relatives and pretended to be her parents. She never called them father and mother. She was doomed to fly into the sky. She was doomed to be a super legend to conquer the Tower of God. She came to this remote sword domain just for resting and avoiding some unnecessary troubles. At the end of the summer, she would leave this small town and never come back. At least, she thought so at that time. Go away, I won't talk with a weaker. Well, in her memory, she yelled at Yunxi, who was trying to talk to her. I just killed some bastards who salivated over the power of my bloodline. I did nothing wrong. Why did they punish me? I'm not wrong, those adults were wrong. Isn't it natural to kill enemies without mercy? If I didn't kill them, they would kill me. It was so simple, why didn't the adults understand? The world is sick. Weaker. Are you saying that to me? As a child, Yunxi didn't understand what weaker meant, just like he didn't know the reason why she was exiled to this remote sword domain. Yes, you are weak. I can beat down 10 of you at once. Hua threw out her chest proudly. In fact, even if she just used one hand, she could knock out 100 stupid kids like him. I'm different. I'm doomed to be a person above all people. But, you don't know how to make bread, do you? Oh, she would never forget his silly smile at that time. His question made her feel at a loss. I'm strong. She suddenly found that although she was a genius, she didn't understand how to make bread. I'm a noble above all mortals. Isn't it a natural thing that I don't understand it? Moreover, I'm not a common noble. My bloodline was from the exalted Tower of God. I should be more exalted than any kings and emperors. If you don't know how to cook, you will always be hungry. People will feel upset if they don't eat. He took out a bread and tore it in two, handing half of it to Hua. Come on, eat it. I know it's uncomfortable to be hungry. Goo. That sound was one of her biggest, blackest memories. Her stomach irresistibly growled at that time. Come on, eat it. Humph, don't think you can get anything from me. I'm a bad girl. If you dare to do anything, don't blame me if you get killed. Gee. Get killed. I will die. Yes. People die if they are killed. In her memory, she said those embarrassing words without feeling ashamed. The lonely, indifferent self gradually became enthusiastic. In fact, her temper didn't change. She just forced herself to change because she wanted to become the perfect bride in his eyes. He said that she was his queen of the summer. In fact, he was the sparkling sun in her heart. She was just a mirror reflecting his lights. If she hadn't met him, she would still be a lonely, weird child. He made the current hua. He helped her find her road and walk forward straightly without confusion. I'm going to marry Yunxi, find the demon dragon and extract its blood to change the shape of my body, becoming the charming bride in the books he hid secretly. This was the road Hua chose for herself. Her bloodline was her wings, she could bring him and fly. As long as they were together, everywhere is heaven. Yunxi doesn't have wings, so I will become his wings. She thought that it was just a common summer, but it was still continuing on at this moment. The summer of her and Yunxi would never end. Yunxi doesn't know how many people's fates he had changed in the past. The first leaf of the 10 Leaves Alliance, the girl who slept in the Temple of Gods from her birth and could only hear desperate sighs all days, showed a happy smile because of him. The child of the Void God Church, the anomaly that was born in the last grave of the endless void, smiled happily when he hugged her and stroked her head. Yes, they were very common daily lives to ordinary people. This was the world Yunxi was living in. However, they were abnormal. The sky-flying bloodline was a bloodline of God, however, its owners were doomed to be lonely all their lives. Even though she had the strongest absolute power in the world, even though she could obtain anything in the world as long as she opened her wings, however, she would become the biggest misfortune once she broke the constraint of her flesh and blood. The first leaf of the 10 Leaves Alliance was doomed to be the sacrifice in the mist, the most unfortunate child. The princess of the Golden Family was the last princess in the Ruin of Gods. There was no way for her to break free from this path since her birth. The last hope of the Void God Church, the last hope of all Void Gods, however, she was also a delicate child. They had different names and came to the small town using different fake identities. They came for her sky-flying bloodline, because it was special to the entire Western Gods domain. Eventually, they all became his childhood sweethearts, his friends, and tried to be his lover. They were imperfect, they were abnormal, so they were eager for the mediocrity who stretched out his hands to them. He was the last hope in Pandora's box. Because of him, the miserable girls encountered each other. Although they never spoke it out, they spontaneously gathered around him and formed a strange circle. From the beginning to the end, only Yunxi didn't know what was hiding in the seemingly normal small town. The small town was their paradise, where they could forget all troubles and sorrows. When Yunxi chose to leave his paradise and went to a brand new world, their paradise was ended, and they went on to their different roads of life again. The first leaf of the 10 Leaves Alliance, Phyllis, went to join the 10 Leaves Parliament of the Alliance. The sleeping golden princess, Millie, had to shoulder her responsibility, to revive the glory of the gods and become a veritable princess of God. The youngest child of the Void Gods, Ligh, had to return to the grave in the endless void to overhaul herself. Only Hua, the free, strong, willful sky-flying bloodline didn't listen to any force, and could stay beside him of her own will. She never thought that she was common. She firmly believed that she could change the miserable fate of the sky-flying bloodline. Nothing should be doomed in the world. Even the trace of stars could be changed. Isn't that right? Hua believed that her summer could never be ended. I have defeated almost all strong enemies, how can I concede to this little girl from nowhere? As an enemy, you are far inferior to Ligh, Phyllis, and Millie. In order to take ownership of Yunxi, they had a fierce virtual war. On the world chessboard, 4 people chose 28 different heroes, launching a war called Yunxi. They summoned a lot of projections of old heroes, fantasy creatures, and even real gods onto the chessboard, having a war that lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. The Hydra who would never die unless all her 9 heads were beheaded. The Ouroboros who could interfere in the flow of the river of time. The largest war machine of the Void God, the invincible Star Destroyer which could create a mini black hole. The War Knights who were doomed to destroy the world. The legendary hero whose bow could shoot down the sun. The mysterious creature who could shuttle back and forth between reality and dream. The giant spider who could turn an entire world into crystal. A total of 28 heroes responded to their summons, their projections launched a mini-war on the world chessboard. The final winner was a beautiful figure whose wings blotted out the sky and covered the sun. She opened 3 pairs of wings, rewriting all the rules in the mini-world on the chessboard. She defeated all the enemies. Even though she was also severely injured, she still stood in the sky and looked down at the land that had been destroyed by the war. It was Huahua's hero, her ancestor Seraphim, the avatar of her sky-flying bloodline, the king above all gods. It defeated all the enemies, no one was a match for it. Even though it was the last hero Huahua still had, but it defeated all the enemies for her. The winner obtained everything and the losers could only wail in the darkness. After the war, Ligh, Phyllis and Millie had to admit that Huahua was his strongest childhood sweetheart. She deservedly took over most of Yunshi's free time and could enjoy his bread every day. I'm the strongest. No matter who the enemy is, I will never lose. With burning flames in her eyes, Huahua announced again. Well, I never had any doubt about that. Yunshi said and firmly believed it even though he didn't know the war amongst his childhood sweethearts. Huahua's jealousy radar launched again, locking on the target. Huahua, you are not fighting alone. You are the childhood sweetheart camp's representative, you are Little She's strongest childhood sweetheart. Stake all the glories of childhood sweetheart, I will never concede. That sister doesn't like Miu Miu. Catching White Lotus's hands, Miu Miu cowardly looked at Huahua, who was staring at her with a killing intention. Oh, she is indeed a tough rival. White Lotus agreed. Huahua was indeed the strongest enemy stopping her from touching her prince. Apparently, she and the prince had an extraordinary relationship. It wasn't something that could be formed within a few days. Their positions, the distance between them, the natural posture of holding each other's hands, and her sharp eyes. She is a strong enemy called a childhood sweetheart. However, I won't lose to her. Most of the time, a childhood sweetheart is the pronoun for loser. Compared to the fatalistic encounter between us, childhood sweetheart was a way too normal setting, which means that she can't be the person who has the last laugh. How to describe the end for most childhood sweethearts? It could be described as we are friends, but we can't be lovers. Because childhood sweethearts were too close and familiar with each other, which reduced the possibility of enchanted feelings. The longer they stayed together, the less chance they would fall in love. Unless the male couldn't find a better female than his childhood sweetheart, otherwise, there weren't many possibilities for his childhood sweetheart. Humph. You can only be proud of yourself at this time. White Lotus smiled confidently. She knew Yunshi's secret, and regarded him as her prince. Huahua's strong possessiveness of him is her greatest weakness. Even if they love each other, there is still a big problem, which Huahua hasn't realized yet. She is too pretentious. She has taken the lead, however, it doesn't mean that she has won. If this was a long-distance race, apparently, she was faster than anyone. Unfortunately, love wasn't a long-distance race. White Lotus could imagine her expression of regret in the future. She thought that she could control Yunshi by forcing him to be her maid. Unfortunately, it was just her delusion. Love isn't as simple as 1 + 1, but a complex multivariate equation. Instinctively, White Lotus understood that Huahua had more than one rival. If she rested easy now and thought that she could stop other females from getting close to my prince, she would finally be punished due to this. Humph, you are too naive. With a mysterious smile, White Lotus looked at Yunshi. Oh, my prince, how can your light be covered by this black maid uniform? Even if everyone thought that you were a cute girl, it would be useless. Love is love, it has no relationship with gender. Look at the girls of the Starwing Knights, you are the only sparkling star in their eyes. I have seen in the future that your silly childhood sweetheart will be crying with regret. TSK, what a strong enemy. Huahua felt an unknown sense of danger, as if someone just declared war with her. Miu Miu? No, it can't be her. Huahua looked up at the stage and felt that Red Lotus was the most likely suspect. Humph, Little She does like the girls who are impulsive, because it's my character. As for White Lotus, she is a good girl. In the Water God's world, she was the first person who advised me to ally with Shea Longness, the Sky Sword. Come on. I don't care who you are, because you are doomed to be beaten down by me. I won't lose even if you are a god. Humph. Huahua smiled confidently. Ho ho. White Lotus showed a mysterious smile. White Lotus, You look in a good mood today. Because she saw so many excellent new disciples, Red Lotus smiled happily. Hey hey. Miu Miu also smiled after seeing Yunshi's smile. Looking around, Maya shrugged her shoulder and decided to train her Star Spirit team for a while. Anyway, my master has had so many girlfriends, it won't hurt him if he has a few more girlfriends, right? Go ahead. On the sky tower above the White Lotus Sword Palace, Phoenix was distressed. Daughter, lover, or enemy, which one is the right answer? Closing her eyes, she plucked her feathers and counted. If it's an odd number, I'm his daughter. If it's an even number, I'm his lover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 17. It's an odd number. Daughter. She scratched on the body of the sky tower. She had repeated this hundreds of times. She was proud of her augury. Unfortunately, after predicting hundreds of times, she found that 33% of the answers were daughter, 33% of the answers were lover, and 33% of the answers were enemies. Her augury was totally useless. Whoa. What can I do? Ouroboros, help me. Phoenix almost went crazy. Unfortunately, Ouroboros was hiding in Hydra's palace and worried if any of her creditors would find her. She couldn't give Phoenix any help now. Let me play 100 more rounds again. Phoenix plucked her feathers again. On the ground, the most important moment for the new disciples was coming. Explain the Tao is a special tradition of the Eastern God's domain and an extremely high honor. Tao meant the truth of the universe. It was countless people's dream to be invited to explain the Tao. Theoretically, even mortals could explain the truth of the Tao, but they must be a super master about Tao. If the mortal was going to explain it, most of the time, the person who explained the Tao was at the hero rank. Explain the Tao wasn't as simple as giving a lecture, the person who held it must pay for it with a lot of effort. Most masters of mortals could explain the Tao only once in their lives. The content of the explain the Tao depended on the presider, but it must be very useful to the people who were seeking for the Tao. Some people even gave away their fortunes for listening a certain masters explain the Tao. This time, the person who held explain the Tao was the current master of the White Lotus Sword domain, the strongest 6th-ranked human in this domain, White Lotus Sword Master. As White Lotus Sword Master, his name had been forgotten by the public a long time ago. After the previous master of this sword domain passed away, he succeeded to this position hundreds of years ago. Till the twin witches exploded into prominence, he finally decided to retire. Today, standing at the familiar stage and looking at the young disciples, he touched his white beard with joy. As a human, he was already 300 years old. He knew at this age, he was no hope to break into the higher realm, the legend rank, so he only focused on teaching students now. Maybe there were not too many geniuses who had graduated from the White Lotus Sword Palace, but none of them lost the face of the Sword Palace after leaving. After Yunhai the Sword Master left, the White Lotus Sword domain was gradually restoring glory during his tenure. The hero rank didn't mean immortal. Just like the heroes in the tales, they would become old and die as time went by. As a strong human at the 6th rank, he suddenly had a presentiment that something was going to happen. Maybe it meant my death, he thought. 300 years was really a long time for humans. From the first time he held a sword, to when he followed the footsteps of his predecessors and finally reached the 6th rank, he thought highly of himself, and looked down at his identity of White Lotus Sword Master. He thought that he could step into the higher realm. The most desirable outcome was to enter the highest sword domain, the Great Shia Sword domain. He even planned to take part in the Battle Gods Championship contest after that. Unfortunately, he didn't accomplish any of his goals. There were differences between different people and different races. After entering the hero rank, the gap between different individuals became even wider. Especially the hero-ranked beings of rare races, their race characteristics could confer them strong, incredible bonuses. Unless they were a super genius of the sword skill, humans had no chance rivaling them. Unfortunately, he wasn't a super genius of the sword skills, which he found out when he traveled through the Sky Sword God's domains. He was the strongest genius of the White Lotus Sword domain. However, when he went to a higher sword domain such as the Great Liang or the Great Jin, he found that he was still strong, but wasn't invincible anymore. He tasted a much painful failure when he and his friend went to the 3 holy sword domains. The Great Ju, the Great Han and the Great Tang were the oldest 3 sword domains, and they were also called the 3 holy sword domains. While there, he witnessed what the real geniuses were. Fail. 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 He experienced too many failures in the 3 sword domains. Finally, he realized what the difference was between him and the real geniuses. The so-called talent of sword skill really existed. No matter how hard he practiced, he couldn't stride across the gap. His talent was the strongest in the White Lotus sword domain, and even in middle-level sword domains, he was entitled to be a founder of a new sect. However, in the 3 holy sword domains, his talent was just so-so. Maybe he could reach the last rank of the hero rank, the 6th rank after practicing hard for 100 years or 200 years. Unfortunately, he had no clue about the possibility of touching the door of the legend rank. If an ordinary person practiced hard, the person still had a fat chance to enter the hero rank. However, it wasn't possible to reach the legend rank even after practicing oneself 100 times harder than before. There were billions and millions of living beings in the endless gods' domains, and most living beings didn't stand any chance to even see a legend rank, not to mention to reach this realm. Endless years, only a very few people had entered the legend rank in the Sky Sword God's domain, and all of them were known as Sky Sword. A large water curtain flowed down behind the old man, who smiled and turned to look at the twin witches. They have the possibility to become twin Sky Swords. Maybe in the near future, I can retire and let them inherit my position. Is he the current White Lotus Sword Master? Looking at the old man, Yunshi felt incredible. In his imagination, the White Lotus Sword Master must be a super strong, magisterial human, whose temperament could conquer everyone. The 6th rank was the peak of the hero rank. Everyone at this rank was the core of a god's domain. In the legend, the people at this rank had incredible abilities and their own god weapons. It was said that a 6th-ranked being could beat down 100 4th-ranked beings, although they were all at the hero rank. However, Yunshi couldn't feel anything special from this kind old man. At that rank, he didn't look like a human who had the power to remove mountains and fill seas. He had recovered his original simplicity. The old master has a good temperament. Hua rarely praised a person, because there weren't too many people in the White Lotus Sword domain that deserved her evaluation. She didn't pay attention to the people who were far inferior to her. Unfortunately, his life force was severely injured. He can't live more than 30 years and can't fight to his full potential. Oh, no wonder that I felt something strange. Yunshi also noticed it. The traces of time had appeared on the face of the old White Lotus Sword Master. Hua, can you win against him? Yunshi was curious about that. It will be a tough battle in the first 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, we will match each other. 20 minutes later, he will be in big trouble. 30 minutes later, I can defeat him. Even though the old man was the strongest swordsman in the entire White Lotus Sword domain, Hua had confidence in herself. Oh, I shouldn't take her as a reference. Yunshi felt that Hua just became more terrible recently. Is it my imagination? In fact, Hua was modest when she said that. If they really had a fight, the old man's body wouldn't be able to support him to fight for 10 minutes. The hero rank was just a joke to her sky-flying bloodline. When the first sky-flying bloodline appeared, humans were still in the stage of slash-and-burn cultivation. When they saw the wings in the sky, they would kneel down and treat the figure in the sky as a god. This time, I will explain what the Tao of Sword is. The White Lotus Sword Master released his aura, covering the entire temple in it. He had held explain the Tao over 10 times. He knew it was important to dominate the scene. What's the strongest Tao of Sword in your hearts? The old master asked all the disciples in the temple. The strongest Tao of Sword should be the will of never yield. Xia Ling, the previous number 1 disciple, the princess from the Great Xia Sword domain, stood up and answered. She was the only genius who had joined the Battle Gods Championship contest in the entire White Lotus Sword Palace. In the eyes of the public, apart from the twin witches and Hua, her talent was the best. It's no accident, she could undoubtedly touch the projection of the White Lotus secret treasure in the future. Looking at her, the old sword master remembered the time when he and his friends went to the 3 holy sword domains. During the dark days, the geniuses like her smashed his confidence over and over again. The strongest Tao of sword is the fastest sword. As long as I can kill my enemies before they draw their swords, I'm the strongest. Bai Yun said. He was called Flowing Light Sword, one of the most excellent geniuses who just came back from a high-level sword domain. The strongest Tao of sword can summon countless ghosts and swallow everything. Apparently, only Yin Su, the genius girl from the ghost sword domain, could give such an answer. The strongest Tao of sword means endless deaths and blood. Xie Huanzhen, the Bloodlight Sword, said. The strongest Tao of sword will dominate the world. It was the answer from Qin Su, the prince of the great Qin Empire. The top 10 disciples, or to be precise, the previous top 10 disciples answered one by one. Their answers meant the Tao of sword they believed in. Finally, only one person hadn't answered yet. Hua Hua, the girl who defeated all the top 10 disciples. I don't understand the Tao of sword. I just brandish my sword and kill my enemy. Hua Hua said confidently. I don't need to understand the Tao of sword, I will only need to crush all the enemies. Ha ha, good, your ideas are all good. Looking at the geniuses, the old sword master smiled. Not everyone could answer his question. Most of the time, the presider of Explain the Tao would ask similar questions at the end of their lectures, and only the real geniuses could hear these questions. They were the hopes of the White Lotus Sword Palace, although most of them wouldn't come back after being blessed by the projection of the secret treasure. However, their learning experience in this sword palace wouldn't disappear. He was already an old man. The future of the White Lotus Sword Domain could only rely on these young disciples. They would make White Lotus Sword Domain become a middle-level sword domain again. He had a strong feeling that he didn't need to wait for it too long. Your ideas about the Tao of sword are good, however, do you know what's the Tao of the sword of Yun Hai the Swordmaster? This time, White Lotus Swordmaster was going to tell them a secret, the Tao of sword of Yun Hai the Swordmaster. Gee! Yun Hai the Swordmaster. Hua Hua rarely got serious. Even she didn't dare to look down on the secret of Yun Hai the Swordmaster. Yun Hai. This name was the biggest pride of the entire White Lotus Sword Domain. Because of him, the White Lotus Sword Domain became a middle-level sword domain in the past. Amongst all the 17 sky swords in the entire history of the Sky Sword God's domain, he was the only sky sword from a lower-level sword domain that obtained the title deicide. Even after 10,000 years, the people in the White Lotus Sword domain wouldn't forget his name. The books about him were numerous, which could even fill up 100 bookshelves. Why did so many geniuses come to this remote sword domain from middle-level and even high-level sword domains? Did they really come to learn the several poor sword skills the White Lotus Sword Palace had? Everyone knew that it wasn't possible. The White Lotus secret treasure, to be precise, the projection of the secret treasure was a treasure sword Master Yun Hai left for the entire sword domain after he became a sky sword. It was the only reason that the geniuses like Xie Ling, the princess of the great Xie Empire, stayed here. The Tao of sword Master Yun Hai, isn't it his Yun Hai's quadrant sword? Xie Ling was the first who asked. As the previous strongest female swordsman, she knew the White Lotus Sword domain like the palm of her own hand. It was said that the legendary White Lotus secret treasure was the key that changed Yun Hai's life. Before Yun Shi was known as a sky sword, he was unknown to the public. A lot of people had various guesses about his identity and origin. Some people said that Yun Hai was a child of God from the Western God's domain. After touching the secret treasure, his memory of his past life was aroused, so he could be so strong. Because Swordmaster Yun Hai had very good relationships with several mysterious races of the Western God's domain, this was the mainstream parlance in the Western God's domain. Some people said that Yun Hai was a descendant of the Great Xie Empire. He just went to the White Lotus Sword domain accidentally and found the White Lotus secret treasure here, which aroused his bloodline power. Because Swordmaster Yun Hai was entangled with several princesses of the Great Xie Empire, the people in the Eastern God's domain believed in this point of view, which was even written in a lot of historical books. There were also a lot of conjectures, such as Yun Hai was actually thousands of years old when he became the Sky Sword, or he was a reincarnation of a living Buddha. Anyway, Almost all the conjectures concluded that he was a super talent, who was born to be a sky sword. Of course, Yunhai's quadrant sword is his strongest sword skill, however, I guess that you don't know the first sword skill he learned. Am I right? To be honest, if he didn't find that thing accidentally, the old master wouldn't believe that it was what sword master Yunhai first practiced. What's the first sword skill Yunhai learned? Tell us, please. Oh, if it's true, it will change history. White Lotus sword master coughed and drew out a small diary. From its yellow cover, apparently, the small diary could be considered as a historical relic. March 3rd, Honeybee * 300, Grass Spirit * 50, Big Grass Spirit * 20. March 4th, why can't I kill them all? Honeybee * 200, Grass Spirit * 60, Big Grass Spirit * 40. March 5th, oh, I think I just understood something. Keep going. Honeybee * 420, Grass Spirit * 73, Big Grass Spirit * 52. March 6th, Killing Spree. Honeybee * 1000, Grass Spirit * 400, Big Grass Spirit * 150. Listening to the numbers the old White Lotus sword master read loud on the stage, the disciples looked at each other in confusion. Does it have any relationship with Yunhai the Sky Sword? July 5th, I finally understood an all-range attack sword skill. Let me try. Honeybee * 3000, Grass Spirit * 1000, Big Grass Spirit * 500. August 1st, something just changed. I can see the traces. Honeybees fly along an 8-shape route. The traces of grass spirits and big grass spirits are unfixable. Honeybee * 5000, Grass Spirit * 2000, Big Grass Spirit * 1000. October 1st, set the coordinates of the honeybee like this, and set the roots of grass spirits and big grass spirits like this. This is a quadrant. This is a spatial coordinate. Oh, I understand. I have killed 10 million honeybees, 1 million grass spirits and 500,000 big grass spirits. 3 years. I can leave this valley now. I will name this sword skill as Yunhai's quadrant sword. I think I can defeat that group of green hippos now. That was all in the diary. The old master touched his beard and showed a mysterious smile. If he hadn't seen Yunhai's personal handwriting before, he wouldn't have found this diary in the used market. After White Lotus sword master announced the master of the diary, it caused a buzz amongst the disciples under the stage. It's awesome. Is it sword master Yunhai's practicing experience? Honeybee, grass spirit and big grass spirit must be very terrible monsters. Even Yunhai the sword master had to fight 3 years with them. The green hippos must be mutants from hell. It isn't surprising to find new mutants of this race. Yes, this is sword master Yunhai's diary. I found it by accident. White Lotus sword master sighed with emotion. From it, I guess that sword master Yunhai's Tao of sword is to brandish his sword 1,000,000 times. No matter what kind of genius you are, if you want to make yourself something, you must practice yourself hard. Your Tao of sword are all good, you should put your hearts and souls into them. The old master realized his mistake in the past. When he was young, he changed his road of sword skill several times, which didn't help him at all but made him achieve nothing. Finally, he could barely enter the 6th rank when he was already an old man. If I could have been persistent like sword master Yunhai when I was young, everything would be different. Perseverance is also a kind of talent. Honeybee, grass spirit, big grass spirit, green hippo. Yunshi rubbed his forehead under the stage. Just now, some vague memories suddenly appeared inside his head. Green mountain, clear water, and all kinds of herbs. Who am I? Where am I from? What am I doing here? Wait, why are the honeybees so ferocious? Whoa, they're coming. I can't run away. January 1st, I don't know where I am. I'm just a common young boy who wants to be a pharmacist. Why am I here? Is it the God's will? No. It's a curse. The young boy tore off the first page of the diary. I have failed the entrance test of the pharmacist 3 times and is going to re-sit. Why did I suddenly appear at this place? What's wrong with the honeybees, grass spirits and big grass spirits? And why do I know their names? I have only a wooden sword in my hand, It can't even be used to kill a honeybee. Am I going to die? Wait, why is there a bonfire? Wasn't I killed just now? These questions almost made this 18-year-old young boy go crazy. He clearly remembered that he just failed the third entrance test of the pharmacist. After throwing the report card into the trash can, he sank down on his bed and began to sleep. When he woke up, the entire world changed. He didn't know where he was, he just knew that he was in a valley, with a bonfire, some trees and countless honeybees, grass spirits and big grass spirits. He thought that he was dreaming, but after he left the bonfire, he was immediately attacked by the loathful honeybees. Oh, my goal is to become a pharmacist. I know nothing about how to fight. In the face of the combative honeybees, what can I do? Not surprisingly, he was killed instantly, and that wasn't the end. He had revived beside the bonfire and were killed over 100 times, which made him start to doubt the meaning of his life. If the combat power of a honeybee was 1, then his combat power didn't even reach 1. But, is it my fault? I'm just a pharmacist. January 2nd, challenge the honeybees again. Record, 0 to 30. The best performance was touching a honeybee using the wooden sword, then I was stung to death. What are these honeybees? Why were they always chasing after me once they saw me? I just want to be a common pharmacist, not a Spartan warrior. The god who brought me here, if you can hear my words, I'm willing to offer you half of my wealth in my life, just let me leave this damned place. January 3rd, be realistic, Yunhai, this isn't a dream, neither a trick. You are trapped here. Although you can revive beside the mysterious bonfire, you can never leave if you can't defeat the honeybees. Thinking. There must be a solution. Even though I have only a wooden sword, there must be still hope. January 4th, I know time is meaningless here, because I didn't see the sun rise or set. However, I will still count the time. This is the 4th day after I came to this strange world. I will go challenge the honeybees. Whoa. I'm wrong. The honeybees are too strong. I'm no match for them. What can I do? January 10th, there isn't food and water. I'm hungry and thirsty. I'm dying. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I can come back after I starve to death. January 11th, anyone who sees my diary, just laugh at me. I chose to starve myself to death. I'm a pharmacist, I know what I can eat, but I still starve myself to death. I thought that a miracle would happen after that. Oh, there is no miracle. Even if I'm not killed, I will still revive beside the bonfire. I think I have to pick up the wooden sword. If this is a test from God, there is only one way out, using my sword. January 12th, I did it. Although I died immediately after that, I killed a honeybee. I felt I just became slightly stronger. Is it my imagination? January 15th, I killed the 5th honeybee. I can confirm it now. Every time I kill a honeybee, I will obtain something. I can't see it, I don't know what it is. Maybe I just absorbed the honeybee's life force or something else. Anyway, I can become strong in this manner. Maybe it's time to make a choice. In fact, I have no choice. To kill or to be killed. I can only go forward, because there is no way back. January 30th, the last day of the first month after I came to this world. Something happened, and I know I just lost something forever. Maybe I can never return to my past life. When I drew my sword and chose to kill, I can't turn back. Looking up at the starry sky, this is really an incredible world. A month ago, I was so weak, so afraid, but now, I already got used to all of this. In addition, apart from the honeybees, grass spirits and big grass spirits, a new monster appeared. It was a green hippo, who was more terrible than the honeybees, grass spirits and big grass spirits. Even 100 I myself are no match for it. Fortunately, it didn't find me when it passed by the bonfire. The green hippo is far stronger than other common monsters. Moreover, green hippos are social beings. There must be more green hippos nearby. I have a feeling that these green hippos are the final obstacle stopping me from leaving this valley. If I want to challenge them, I need to practice my sword skill to my limit. Since I can become stronger by killing honeybees, if I kill 10 million honeybees and grass spirits and big grass spirits, can I obtain the power to defeat the green hippo? Anyway, for my freedom, green hippos must die. What is a sword skill? Sword was just a weapon used to kill people. Flowery language couldn't change the nature of its use. I have only a wooden sword, lucky and unlucky, it would never wear and tear. The wooden sword didn't have a sharp blade. If I want to kill a honeybee, I must attack the weakest part of its body. My strength is weak, if I can't kill the honeybee in one brandish, I would be hurt immediately. Therefore, I can't waste a bit of my strength. My sword skill should be simple and straight. Yes, just like 1 + 1 in math. My sword should follow the simplest rule in the world. After killing 20 honeybees, the increase of my strength started to slow down. It seems that my body can't absorb more power now. It isn't surprising, after all, my body is weak, otherwise, I wouldn't choose to be a pharmacist. Since I can't increase my strength without limit, I need to figure out how to raise the efficiency of using my power. I should stop hunting grass spirits until I'm more confident of success. I won't die, this is my biggest advantage. As long as I can learn from my countless failures, even though I'm still weak now, I can become strong in the future. My concept about time is becoming vague. I gradually forget my past self, and start to change bit by bit. Maybe this is the purpose of the God who threw me into this world. I will become strong. I can do it. Because apart from this, I have nothing to do. It's strange, I killed 3 honeybees and didn't get hurt. Why? I know my strength didn't increase. Theoretically, I can only defeat 1 honeybee one-on-one, I shouldn't have any chance to defeat 3 honeybees at the same time. Am I becoming stronger? Maybe something else is changing. February 20th. I have stopped to write in my diary every day. This is the 50th day after I came to this world. Finally, I killed the strongest big grass spirit and my strength increased again. I think I can become stronger. The bad news is that the number of honeybee, grass spirit and big grass spirit also increased. They are like a part of this world. No matter how many of them I have killed, their number won't reduce and is even increasing. It's strange, my knowledge as a pharmacist let me understand that it's absurd. The environment in this valley can't support such a big food chain. Why didn't I find it before? There is no honeybee queen here. Honeybees should appear in gardens, and the grass spirits should live in the forest. They shouldn't appear here. Green hippos are monsters at the top of the food chain. It's impossible that a group of green hippos chooses to live here. This world, it's like. January 28th. I understand, but I can't do anything. If this world is a cage made by a god, then I'm the prisoner in the cage. I need to find the key to unlock this cage. However, where can I find the key? The answer is right in my hands. Sword skill. I need to practice my sword skill to the limit. In this cage where I won't die, I have endless time to improve and perfect my sword skill. Let me start. Even if I have to kill the monsters here 1,000,000 times, or even 10,000,000 times, I will find my Tao of sword and cut open this cage. In my mind, I heard a strange song. Was it encouraging me? Like the sun that will rise from the ground every day, even if I'm surrounded by the relentless darkness, I will also break it by using my mutilated body. Like the night that will come every day, even if I'm troubled due to the twisted fate of today, I still believe that the world will never change. Only we will be changed. The truth that we are still alive is our strongest weapon. After a while, the song disappeared, however, I can feel that an emotion called courage is rising inside of my heart. I will unravel this absurd world. The existence of myself is my strongest weapon. March 1st. My power stopped increasing again. Even if I killed a big grass spirit, I didn't obtain too much power. It's predictable that my attack power and speed would stop increasing at a high speed. Maybe I need to kill 100,000 monsters before my power increases again. The problem is that I'm not the only one who is becoming stronger. The honeybees, grass spirits, and big grass spirits are evolving too. They start to use tactics and move in groups. I need to hurry. The problem is becoming more and more serious. It's time to make a choice. What is my sword? What is the Tao of my sword skill? I'm so weak. What kind of sword skill can help me overcome the strong enemies? How can I leave this cage of time and space? Return to the start point. How did I kill the first honeybee? 1 + 1. generalizing everything to be math problems, calculate and predict the trajectory of the honeybee. This is math. Yes, I'm not a qualified swordsman, I never learned any sword skill before. My sword skill is based on math from the beginning. I figure out the trajectory of the honeybee and filled it into the computing formula I summed, so that I could kill the honeybee. I should give up on trying any other sword skill and only focus on the sword skill I created. Yunhai, you are not a genius, you don't have any talent or bloodline ability about the sword. You are just an ordinary person, whose goal is to be a pharmacist and likes to study math in my spare time. I don't know what the practice method of a real swordsman is, I only know the sword skill I created. So, keep calculating, this is my only way to become stronger. If I can accomplish it someday, I will give it an inscrutable name. Yunhai's Quadrant Sword. The basic of learning it is to study 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle. This is the practice method of Yunhai's Quadrant Sword. Yunshi blinked. He suddenly found that the speech of the old White Lotus swordmaster had finished. It seemed that it was a memory of Yunhai the swordmaster. It was a memory about how he created Yunhai's Quadrant Sword. However, Yunshi found something familiar in his memory. The bonfire, the strange world, and the green hippos. Did Yunhai enter a trial world of the stars? Maybe only Yunhai himself knew the answer. Apparently, he didn't get help from anyone, no one explained the rules to him like what Maya did for Yunshi. He entered the trial world without any preparation. The only lucky thing was his enemies were weaker than what Yunshi faced before. He could practice his sword skill using the honeybees, grass spirits and big grass spirits. The unlucky thing was he had only a wooden sword. Yunshi had an iron sword and learned the breathing method from Hua Hua before. As for Yunhai, he literally started from zero. Fortunately, Yunhai created the invisible Yunhai's Quadrant Sword due to this experience, which was a god sword skill that wasn't inferior to Hua Hua's sky-flying sword. Yunshi knew the road he had gone through, and now, he could study Yunhai's sword skill from the beginning. 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle. Yunshi murmured and decided to read the 2 books first. After the speech, the disciples left in small groups. The next important thing to them was to pick classes. It wasn't a common thing to listen to explain the Tao. White Lotus Sword Domain wasn't a prosperous holy land of sword skill like the Great Xia Sword Domain. There were only a few swordsmen who were entitled to explain the Tao here. At other times, disciples needed to pick the classes themselves. Since most disciples were not geniuses who were 100% sure that they could enter the hero rank and become one of the top 10 disciples, choosing proper classes and a good tutor were very important to them. Otherwise, if they couldn't reach the peak of the 3rd rank within 5 years, they would be driven away and wouldn't even be admitted as a disciple of the Sword Palace. They would stay in the mortal world forever and could never come back to the sword tip area. Of course, the geniuses from other sword domains didn't need to worry about this. Their goals were the projection of the White Lotus secret treasure from the beginning. Library, where is the library? Yunshi didn't go to pick classes immediately like other disciples. He had walked around in the wide yard of the Sword Palace for a while, but didn't find where the library was. The library? It doesn't open to new disciples. Several disciples answered him. The library? I don't know. We come here to practice our sword skills. There are no godly martial arts in the library, why do I need to go there? Most disciples held this view. Finally, a female disciple who looked very kindly told him the location of the library. Isn't it too small? Compared to other buildings, the library was too small and inconspicuous in a corner of the Sword Palace. It was a 3-story small wooden house, located beside a lake. Compared to it, the several female disciples walked beside the lake were more eye-catching. Bunches of green Virginia creepers grew on the walls, making the small house melt into the environment. Sorry, the library doesn't open to new disciples, it only opens to tutors. If you are looking for common literature, there is a big library in the town nearby, you can go there. The librarian lazily took a glance at Yunshi and said. There were a lot of valuable books in this library, and many of them were the only existing copy in the world. Only elite disciples and tutors could come here to borrow books. New disciples were not allowed to borrow materials here. Well, I should have the permission to borrow books here. Yunshi hesitated for a while, then took out the shell with an hourglass-shaped pattern. Since the shell could let him come and leave the girls' dorm freely, it should also work here. Looking at the shell in Yunshi's hand, the middle-aged librarian froze and rubbed his eyes. As the librarian, he felt that it looked familiar, but couldn't remember what it was clearly. He was sure that it wasn't from the White Lotus Sword Palace, but he had a very special impression about it. Oh, I remember it. Of course, it's not a permit of the library or anything from the Sword Palace itself. How can such a thing be the token of a small library in a lower-level sword domain? Anyone who held it could even enter the palace of the Great Xia Empire freely, not to mention this library. The battle god's token, the token of the sixth sky sword, the librarian murmured. His legs were shaking. Compared to the person who could obtain this token, he, an unknown librarian, was as weak as an ant. Even if he was killed, no one would dare to seek revenge for him. Of course, you can borrow books here. I will give the authority for you immediately. The librarian only wanted to cry. If time could turn back, he wouldn't say a word just now. Thank you. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that his cheap teacher's reputation was really useful here. After walking into the library, Yunshi found that the library wasn't small at all. Looking at it from the outside, it was just a 3-story wooden house, but its inside was incredibly wide. Is its inner space expanded by magic? Looking at the over 10-story spiral staircase and the aisles amongst one bookshelf after another, it couldn't be just a 3-story house. Moreover, there was a light curtain covering the entrance of the basement, which meant that there was a wide space under the ground too. Yunshi drew out the shell and touched the light curtain. Just like what happened when he touched the magic circle of the girls' dorm, this light curtain straightly disappeared. Apparently, the Sky Sword's token could be used here too. However, he wasn't going to go to the basement now. He was just looking for some beginner books. Geography, astronomy, history, math. Yunshi found the books he needed on the 3rd floor. The beginner books to learn Yunhai's quadrant sword were just some basic math books. However, don't look down on them. They were the cornerstones of math, the base of calculating. Well, let me borrow more books. After finding 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle, Yunshi picked up several other books on the bookshelf. Probability calculus. Introduction to calculus, even a monkey can understand it. Theory of real number. The 5 beginner books were what Yunshi was going to read as the introduction to mathematics. After picking up the 5 books, he looked at the books on the top of the bookshelf. Immediately, he felt that he might be a monkey, because he didn't understand the titles of the books at all. Is the cat dead or alive? I will kill that damned cat. The Ghost Cat of Mathematics, 2 theories about the question of Yunhai the Sky Sword. 36 proof techniques to verify if the cat is dead or alive. It's wrong to torment the cat. I will eat that cat. I don't believe this theory. I prefer to believe that cats never exist in this world. Yunhai, F***ku and your cat. A pile of books all referred to a mysterious cat. Looking at the names of the authors on the books, Yunshi found almost all the names of the top mathematicians he knew, including a dragon, and someone was directly cursing Yunhai the Sky Sword in the title. It seemed that all the mathematicians all over the world were in a towering rage when referring to the cat. It must be a very strong cat. Yunshi thought. It seemed that Yunhai was the first person who put forward the theory about the cat. He had a feeling that if he wanted to master Yunhai's quadrant sword, he would have to face that cat sooner or later. Deep in the night, Yunshi lay on his bed with a painful look. It's too difficult to understand the content of the books. Are they really just the basic knowledge to learn Yunhai's quadrant sword? Yunshi didn't expect that it was so hard to study mathematics. He just read 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle, and they had made him fall into the endless computation of infinite loops. Because he was already a hero-ranked baker, his strong hero-ranked mentality helped him a lot. At the hero rank, his computation speed was hundreds of times faster than ordinary people. He could calculate pi to hundreds of decimal places and instinctively kept calculating. To ordinary people, it wouldn't be a problem because humans would instinctively give up thinking about the thing that was beyond their computing power. But to Yunxi, he just couldn't turn a blind eye to the formulas. What's the limiting value of this angle? What's the threshold of this unknown number? Why did the computation fall into an infinite loop? Before he went to the Sword Palace, he only learned add, subtract, multiply, and divide because he needed to record the income of his family's bread shop every day. The 4 fundamental operations of arithmetic were sufficient for him at that time. After studying the knowledge in 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle, he finally understood how hard the real mathematics was. It was a Tao that could explain everything in the universe. Mathematics didn't stand for truth, because it was a process that was used to pursue the truth of the universe. From mathematics, people could sum up the nature of astronomy, physics, and even the world itself. It was a wisdom that applied to every place in the entire God's domains, which was sufficient to be the core of the godlike sword skill, Yunhai's quadrant sword. How did Yunhai create his sword skill by using math? It makes no sense. Yunxi only felt awe about Yunhai's wisdom. He was sure that Yunhai's quadrant sword wasn't possible to be mastered by ordinary people, because only the best geniuses of math could learn its basics after endless failures. Compared to Hua Hua's sky-flying sword, Yunhai's quadrant sword seemed to be easy to study. However, it was actually more difficult than any sword skill Yunxi had ever known. It seemed that everyone could learn the basics of Yunhai's quadrant sword by reading 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle. Unfortunately, it was just a delusion. Even Yunxi, whose computation speed was hundreds of times faster than ordinary people, felt the strain of learning the basics of Yunhai's quadrant sword, not to mention other people. Perhaps Yunhai was a real super genius of math, just like Hua Hua was a super genius of sword. No, I should stop calculating. Yunxi pressed his hands on his head. It wasn't a sword skill he could learn now. He even doubted that Yunhai's understanding about math had entered the legend rank when he created this sword skill. Only super geniuses of math could learn the basic of Yunhai's quadrant sword, as for when could they master it? Only God knows. Nah, forget it. Let's me try teacher Casina's gift first. With a sad look upon his face, Yunhai touched the shell in front of his chest and gave the words, "Open for me, the sky tower." Yunxi found that he was in the incredible dream again. He stood in front of the door of cloud and looked at her. Today, she was still guarding the door on the golden seashore. She was the guardian of the door, the last warning line stopping any intruder from getting close to the door. 3 strands of icy blue hair stood upright on her forehead, her slender braided hair was hanging behind her. Her cuffs were inlaid with steel blue gems while a double-edged sword sheath with a pendant on it was hanging on her waist. She gave off a very icy-cold and alienated aura. While she was inserting her huge blue slanted sword back into its sheath. That sword made her slender body seem even more slender. Her blade also seemed to give off a cold silvery white aura. Just the sword hilt alone was already over 1/2 meter long. The hilt of the sword and the edge of the blade seemed to share a single central connection point. The point seemed to be a circular compass, and in the middle of that compass was a huge keyhole. Apparently, something was sealed there. Yunxi had the same dream again and again and again, and every time, his end was the same. Every time, he would be killed by her sword. However, he was never afraid of this dream. Why? Because this girl in his dream was the first person who touched his heart. This was his deepest secret, even Hua Hua didn't know about it. First love, no, it was an emotion that was much stronger than that. Her figure had left in his heart a long time ago. Hua Hua was his first love in the real world, and she was his first dream lover in his dream world. The difference was that Hua Hua was a girl next door, who he could see every day, and she was as unreal as a foam, who he could only find in his dream. She was his dream lover. However, he was just a self-invited soul in her eyes. Every time she saw him, she would brandish her sword toward him. Her sword was cold, containing the power that could even freeze your soul. He didn't even remember how many times he had been killed by her sword. However, this time, she didn't brandish her sword. She just stood in front of the door and didn't even take a glance at him. Isn't her attitude different today? Yoon-shi couldn't help but stretched out his hand, pinching his face. Ouch. Yoon-shi looked at his hands in surprise. This was the first time he felt pain in this dream. Not only so, everything in this time became 100 times clearer than the dreams before. Everything looked the same, but something was changed. Looking at her, she was still like a silver gem on the golden seashore, sparkling cold lights, lonely and beautiful. This is me. Looking at his own hands, Yoon-shi found that he obtained a real body in this dream. Walking to the sea, he saw his reflection in the water. It wasn't his own body, brown skin, slender body, a mask with 3 golden pupil-like patterns, ponytail and bared feet. Apart from these, there was also a special mark above his head, an hourglass-shaped mark. It was apparently his teacher, Kasina's body. Is this really a dream? Yoon-shi pinched his arms and clearly felt the pain. However, it wasn't simply a feedback of the body, but a feedback of the soul. Ha, my cute disciple, don't pinch this body, I will feel embarrassed. When Yoon-shi was making blind and disorderly conjectures, he heard Kasina's voice. I know you must have a lot of questions, but there is no time to explain them. This is just a pre-recorded message. I found that your body has some problems, but I don't know how to cure your body. Therefore, I gave your body my identity, and you can go to the Sky Tower, looking for solutions yourself. Do you see the door? It's the door leading to the real Sky Tower. Don't worry, you are using my identity now, the Guardian won't attack you. The real Sky Tower isn't any of the towers in the real world, they are just the projections of the real tower. You, after entering the Sky Tower, use my identity, go to 100 successive victories, get the Soul Jade, heal your body. Due to some unknown reason, Kasina's voice became blurry and intermittent at this time. So, this is the door leading to the real Sky Tower. She is the guardian of the door. Yoon-shi looked at the familiar and strange figure in the front of the door. For a long time, he thought that she was just his imagination in his dreams, but now, he understood that she was a real person, the forever guardian of the Sky Tower. You are not my dream, you are real. In the water god's world, his body was possessed by her, announcing the words of sanction to Hydra and Shea Longness. However, when she possessed his body, he couldn't remember everything clearly. For a long time, he only remembered her absolute will in her cold sword light. Till now, he finally remembered the whole thing. She was the last order of the Sky Sword God's domain. Anyone who infringed the order would be penalized by her sharp, cold sword. Maybe only Kasina, who was at the same rank with her, could resist her cold, absolute will. Looking at the figure with mixed feelings, Yoon-shi understood what a wide gap was between them. However, when he looked at the figure who had stood at that place for countless years, he could only feel a word: loneliness. How long has she stayed in front of this door? Since when has her time been frozen? As the guardian of the door, did she dream of leaving the golden seashore and take a rest? What's your name? Walking to the girl, Yoon-shi asked. Even he himself didn't know why he was so bold to ask a Sky Sword's name. The scene fell into silence. After a long while, the girl, the oldest Sky Sword, looked at Yoon-shi with a meaningful look. You are not Kasina. Yes, I'm my teacher's disciple. She gave you her mark of the Sky Tower. Yes, I think so. Then, you should get into the door. After confirming his identity, the girl closed her eyes again. Even though she thought that it was misbehaving to pass on the mark of the Sky Tower to others, since it was allowed by the rules of the Sky Tower, she wouldn't say anything. Please, tell me your name. Tell me, please. Like a child who wanted candy, Yoon-shi walked around the Sky Sword, who had closed her eyes in silence. This was his first time to be so proactive. Is it because his dream came true? Although she was standing there, he still felt that she was unreal and fantastic, as if she would disappear if she didn't tell him her name. You talk too much. The Sky Sword opened her eyes and held her sword. She brandished the sword, and instantly, Yoon-shi was blown into the door. Target disappeared. After driving Yoon-shi into the door of the Sky Tower, the girl closed her eyes and continued to guard the door. Her silver-blue pony tail blew in the wind, as if nothing had happened just now. Woo! Yunshi dropped to the ground at a high speed from the sky, and finally landed safely. In fact, it wasn't ground but was just a stone plate-like thing in the sky. If I were an ordinary person, the person would be too nervous to feel the existence of their legs. The stone plate was connected with a tall tower in the void, which was surrounded by endless rune words. Countless scenes of different worlds were reflected on the body of the tower. The White Lotus Sword Domain, the Great Yuan Sword Domain, the Great Qin Sword Domain, the Great Ju Sword Domain, the Great Han Sword Domain, the Great Tang Sword Domain, the Great Xia Sword Domain. All the sword domains in the Sky Sword God's domain, as long as there were projections of the Sky Tower in the domains, were all appearing on the body of the tall tower. And their reflections just occupied a small area of the tower's body. The entire Sky Tower was connected with countless worlds, which was impossible to figure out the total. And from time to time, there would be a brand new scene of a world appearing on the tower's body, which meant that a new world just joined the web system of the Sky Tower. This was the nature of the Sky Tower, the core connecting endless gods' domains. And there were 6 towers who had the same function like the Sky Tower in the universe. The 7 towers were the foundation that the endless god domain world could form. Through the Starbridge system connecting the 7 towers, the god domains which were over thousands of light years away could be an equal member of the same world system. Arguably, the endless god domain world was a civilization building on the 7 towers. The Sky Tower, the God Tower, the Dragon Tower, if they didn't exist, there would only be countless small worlds scattered around the universe. The current god domain world would never form. Is this the real Sky Tower? Looking around, Yunshi found that he was at the lower part of the upper part of the tower. The location belonged to Sky Sword God's domain on the Sky Tower. There were only a few gods' domains nearby. In fact, the sword-shaped sword domains only existed in the Sky Sword God's domain. In other gods' domains, their worlds weren't called sword domain, neither in the shape of sword. They were formed in different shapes. Moreover, compared to other gods' domains, the territory of the Sky Sword God's domain wasn't large at all. However, it could occupy such a large area on the upper part of the Sky Tower, which proved the strong power of the Sky Swords. Above the Sky Sword God's domain, there was only one god's domain, which was more vast and larger. Surrounded by endless white clouds, there were countless strange beasts flying in the sky of that domain. There was a beast who could turn into whale and rock. Its name was Kuan, who was an old fantasy creature at the same rank with Hydra. There was a snake who flew in the lightning swamp with 2 wings, who was an old fantasy creature called Feather Snake. There were a group of birds whose wings covered with golden lights, who were the guardians of Buddha, eating giant snakes as their foods. In the entire Eastern God's domain, only a god's domain had so many fantasy creatures. It's the Kunlun God's domain. Looking at the scene of the domain, Yunshi knew it was the biggest domain and the symbol of civilization worlds, the Kunlun God's domain. In legend, it was the homeland of endless fantasy creatures, the strongest domain in the entire Eastern God's domain. Just like the Dragon God's domain was the only overlord in the entire Northern God's domain, the Kunlun God's domain stood for the civilization of the entire Eastern world. The master of the Kunlun God's domain was an old god called West Queen, the mother of all fantasy creatures. Her identity in the Eastern God's domain was equal to the master of the Western God's domain, one of Yunshi's ex-girlfriends, the god above all gods, Ionia. Her rank was even higher than the legend rank. Looking at the fantastic scene of the Kunlun God's domain, Yunshi finally remembered his purpose coming to the Sky Tower. Cassina didn't lend her identity to him just to let him go sightseeing. She wished for him to find the solution for healing his body here. Yunshi didn't know what was wrong with his body, however, since Cassina said it, it should be true. Obtain 100 successive victories and get the Soul Jade as a reward. Remembering what Cassina said, his hand lightly touched the body of the tower. The next moment, his body was absorbed into the Sky Tower. It was hard to describe the feeling of touching the Sky Tower. He felt as if he was seeing the entire universe in an instant. He saw endless lights of stars flying around him, forming countless star bridges. Each star bridge leading to a world, a civilization. The entire God Domain world was in the web made of the countless star bridges, and even though there were already overwhelming worlds in the web, they just occupied a small part in the starry sky. Outside the farthest star bridge, there were still numerous unknown, mysterious worlds, which were too far away from the endless god domain worlds, so they hadn't been caught by the web made of the star bridges. Arguably, the living beings in these worlds were still in the darkness of ignorance. The world is so big. The starry sky is so vast. Is this the reason why teacher Cassina gave me her identity? Is this awesome, soul-stirring scene what she wanted me to see? Walking along the starlights, Yunshi found that he was standing at a place which looked very familiar. Looking around, Yunshi was surprised. Being surrounded by the starlights, one road after another appeared in all directions, like a mini starbridge system. It looked pretty similar to what Yunshi saw at the star altar. Master, does the star trial begin again? Maha appeared in her soul form, looking around with curiosity. No, the next star trial hasn't started. I'm in the sky tower. Yunshi explained. Oh, this place looks really similar to the star altar. Maha floated in the air and sniffed. I can smell Master's smell everywhere, even if it isn't your past heritage, it must have a deep relationship with you. Maha was sure that the sky tower was built by using the power of the stars. Oh, if it's true, was I really a great person in my past life? In Yunshi's mind, his past life was just a bad-lucky guy who had 4 horrible ex-girlfriends. But now, it seemed that he did something very great in his past life. At least, he was talented when building wonders. Of course, I have said that you are the greatest master in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't launch that. Suddenly, Maha covered her mouth and stopped. Oh, the inner structure is so incredible. Fortunately, Yunshi was observing the inner structure of the sky tower. He didn't pay attention to what Maha just said. Standing in the front of the sky tower, where looked like an altar, Yunshi saw several stairs leading into the void. At the entrance of each stair, there were signs indicating where the stairs led to. Looking up at the end of the stairs, there were several different colored light balls, as if there were stars hanging in the sky tower. Yunshi looked at the nearest stair, and it was tagged as the City of Doll. The City of Doll, where you can make the most perfect doll. There are countless dolls waiting for you here. Oh, it sounds interesting. Yunshi was itching for a try. However, when he sat his foot on the stair, he heard an ear-piercing warning. 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 You have no privilege to enter the City of Doll. This is the paradise of puppeteers. Please start from making your first doll. Well, Yunshi remembered that he was using his teacher, Cassina's identity. Of course, Cassina wouldn't hold the permission to enter the City of Doll. If so, Yunshi looked at the other stairs carefully. The door of heaven. The stair leading to the paradise of angels. Only angels can enter this door. The door of hell. The lost paradise of demons. Only demons can enter this door. Undoubtedly, they won't open to Yunshi. From the beginning, he shouldn't come here. It was too early for him to come to the realm of the legend rank. By the way, teacher Cassina told me to obtain 100 successive victories, but where should I go? Yunshi looked around in confusion. The City of Doll, the door of heaven, the door of hell, the paradise of elves. Apparently, judging from their styles, there were the areas of the Western god's domain. Wait, Master, the stairs here will change periodically. Maha finally figured out the operational principle of the star altar. Just like the orbit of the stars, the areas connecting to the stairs would change from time to time. What Yunshi just saw was the Mystery Place theme pack series. After a while, 3 new stairs appeared in front of him. Heaven Book World, 5 Elements World and Starry Sky Chessboard, 3 Eastern-style stairs appeared. In the Heaven Book World, there were countless books, where was used to decide the candidates of the inheritor of the Heaven Book. In the 5 Elements World, people could study the mystery of 5 elements. Looking at the Starry Sky Chessboard, Yunshi's eyes brightened up. He was sure that this was the world Cassina wanted him to go, because the stair of this world opened to him. Maha, let's go. Yunshi stepped on the stair with expectations. After about 15 minutes, the connecting areas of the stairs changed again. This time, the World of Battle Gods Championship contest finally appeared, but there was already nobody on the altar. At the same time. In the Western God's domain, the God Tower. In the Eastern God's domain, the Sky Tower. In the Dragon God's domain, the Dragon Tower. Starry Sky Chessboard appeared in the three towers at the same time. The hero-ranked people and legend-ranked people who saw it in the three towers instantly fell into ecstasy. Unlike most mystery worlds in the seven towers, Starry Sky Chessboard was a pretty rare mystery world even to legend-ranked beings. In the legend, Starry Sky Chessboard stood for one of the highest secrets of the seven towers. It was a challenge of wisdom. The people who were chosen by it were all the smartest people in their god's domains. It would be great luck to the people who could play chess in the Starry Sky Chessboard world. It was a miracle that countless strong living beings were eager for. What? The Starry Sky Chessboard just appeared. Go, go, go. Every who can set foot on the stair, get into this mystery world quickly. It's already been 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, the Starry Sky Chessboard appears again. Don't push. Get in line. In the Dragon God's domain, Orfina, the old ruby dragon left the emerald dream. As she slowly opened her eyes, the countless crystals around her all broke. She was the most excellent sophist in the Dragon God's domain, the ruby dragon who was called Morning Glory, the strongest chess player who achieved 50 successive victories the last time the Starry Sky Chessboard appeared. She only achieved 50 successive victories because she lost to the God of Wisdom. Oh, finally, this mystery world opens again. How long have I slept? Oh, 1,000 years. I'm really happy to play chess again. In the Western God's domain, Norn, the God of Wisdom, the only living being who achieved 60 successive victories last time, looked at the light ball in the God Tower with joy. The Starry Sky Chessboard, one of the ultimate secrets of the God Tower. It was said that the person who successfully passed its test could see one of the ultimate truths of the universe. Nobody knew what the truth was. However, as the well-known God of Wisdom, he was so eager for any truth of the universe. This time, he was confident enough to challenge all the chess players in the endless God's domains, achieving 100 successive victories, because it was the requirement to face the ultimate challenge of the Starry Sky Chessboard. Even though he was the God of Wisdom, after defeating Orfina the Ruby Dragon, he was exhausted and finally stopped after he achieved 60 successive victories. In the mystery world of the Starry Sky Chessboard, no matter how long you were there and what your identity was, everything depended on your chess strength. The people who achieved 50 successive victories would be marked 5 star points automatically by the Starry Sky Chessboard. Norn, the God of Wisdom, was the only 6 star points chess player. In the Western God's domain, the Mechanus God's domain, countless engineers walked around the God Tower and looked at a giant crystal which was connected with the God Tower by innumerable electric cables. In the crystal, a girl was curling up, sleeping in the God crystal that was more expensive than an entire God's domain. Her body was covered by strange clothes with countless circuit symbols. Her tender skin looked so fantastic, like a dream. Her translucent silver hair dropped to her tiptoes. On her forehead, there were a pair of antennas, but now, they were shrunk. Z. An amazing amount of electric currents wrapped around the God crystal. They danced and cheered, waiting for the girl to wake up. Start the first set of quantum computers. Start the second set of quantum computers. The core planet motor is running smoothly. The first, second and third satellites are running smoothly. The Mechanus God's domain was known for alchemy and black technology. The alchemists and engineers all looked at the sleeping girl with a look of ecstasy. After the War of Gods, the Void God race achieved independence. She was the first perfect creation the alchemists and engineers made with their hands. She was the miracle, she was the legend, she was the highest crystal of wisdom of the entire Mechanus God's domain. In order to create her, all the engineers in the entire Mechanus God's domain had used all of their money to bring her to fruition. Today, she would wake up, and the Mechanus God's domain would return to the stage of the endless God domain world again. Start, codename Alpha, our God, the strongest cyber elf. Long live science. We will become the truth of the universe. We are the avatars of the world. With the ear-piercing sounds of electric current, the planet heat removal system slowly launched. By extracting untold energies from the core of the planet, the black technology which combined the legacy of God and human technology aroused the girl from her sleep. Slowly opening her eyes, The girl walked out from the god crystal. She was so beautiful, as if she was the combination of all good things in the world. Standing on the ground, the girl opened her mouth. It was an announcement from her godhood. It was the congratulations of a newborn god. I have died in the past. Who will know my name and life story? I was lost in the unknown. Who will know my place? My heart has gone to nirvana. Who can seek for its trace? My disappearance is already doomed, but I shall never stop. The disaster hasn't been ended, and will last forever in eternity. My fear, my tear, and my heart are empty. I'm nothing, I'm void, I'm ash, I'm desolation. The gods have died, the twilight is coming. As the light is still shining on the ground, I return from eternity. Codename, Alpha, launch, out. The appearance of the starry sky chessboard was random. This time, it only opened in the Sky Tower, the God Tower and the Dragon Tower. Rarely, people swarmed toward it in the three towers. They strived to step onto the stair from different star altars. The rule of the starry sky chessboard was to play a game called Star Go, which was recognized as the highest crystallization of wisdom in the endless God domain world. Its prototype was an old game called Go, which was a game played with black and white pieces on a board of 361 crosses. However, Star Go was far more complicated than Go. Its chess pieces were stars, and the players needed to play in the chessboard which would change continuously. It referred to the knowledge of astronomy, geography, and divination. Arguably, it was so complicated that even gods couldn't predict the result. It was a game that only belonged to the wisest legend-ranked beings in the universe. Mortals wouldn't even be able to understand the rules of the Star Go. In the mystery world of the starry sky chessboard, power was meaningless, because only the people who could calculate quickly and understand the rules of stars had the opportunity to win this game. Stars were the chess pieces and star map was the chessboard. From the first day this game was invented, there weren't any chessboards that were the same. The star map would change continuously, even the appearing of the changes was such that no one expected. This was the mystery of the starry sky chessboard. Even if a person wasn't eager for the reward after achieving 100 successive victories, to play chess here was already a great opportunity for improving oneself. Therefore, every time the starry sky chessboard appeared, people would strive to enter into it like a flock of ducks. However, the starry sky chessboard didn't open to everyone. Only the smartest people could step on the stair leading to this mystery world, and this was just the beginning. Before formally starting the game, there was still a hard test to pass. The grading game. It's used to test the player's Star Go strength and explain the basic rules of Star Go. Looking at the huge chessboard in front of him, Yunshi was annoyed. Oh, I never heard about Star Go before. How can I achieve 100 successive victories? Maybe the Star Go is very easy, and I will meet a lot of rookies. As long as I can understand the rules, I can win 100 times easily. Is teacher Cassina a masterhand of Star Go? If so, it explains why she was so confident that I can win the final reward, the Soul Jade. Yes, that must be the truth. After all, teacher Cassina is the sixth Sky Sword. It isn't surprising to know that she is good at the Star Go. Yunshi quickly accepted the explanation and started to learn the rules of Star Go. Of course, if he was in the mystery world called Battle Gods Championship Contest, he would find that he had been armed with golden, sparkling legend-ranked weapons to the teeth. Most people would be scared to death and lose 90% of their combat power after seeing Cassina's projection in the mystery world called Battle Gods Championship Contest. After all, Cassina was the absolute overlord of the Battle Gods Championship Contest. Because she had won so many times, the rewards she had obtained were already innumerable. After wearing the equipment she had, her defense power and attack power would be 10 times stronger than anyone. Even if it was a legend-ranked being who wasn't inferior to Cassina in the real world, after seeing her equipment in the Battle Gods Championship Contest, they would immediately turn away and concede. If Yunshi was in the Battle Gods Championship Contest, to achieve 100 successive victories would be as easy as traveling to the nearby town. Of course, since he had entered the mystery world of Starry Sky Chessboard, he wouldn't be able to know it now. He had started to learn the rules of the Star Go with confidence. Oh, it's pretty easy. Yunshi read the rules of the Star Go. The players just needed to put chess pieces on the chessboard called star map, occupying the territory on the star map. The one who obtained the absolute advantage on the star map would be the winner. The rules were similar to the Mortals game, Go, but the chess pieces were different. Each of the chess piece of the star Go had their own nature. Some of them were fire type, just like the planet full of lava in the real world. Some of them were water type, just like the ice-covered planet in the real world. The nature of the chess piece stood for different planets in the real world. Similarly, the chessboard called star map was the same. It was the simulation of the real starry sky. Before the game started, both sides of the players wouldn't know what the star map was and what kinds of chess pieces they would obtain. It was a great challenge to their computing power and understanding about the rules of the stars. Now, in front of Yunxi, it was the most basic star map, a simulation of a very small galaxy with 9 slots. In the box beside of his hand, there were 18 chess pieces waiting for his picking. 9 chess pieces Go was the basic of the star Go. It was used to test the hand feel of the player. Theoretically, all the 18 chess pieces could be put into the 9 slots, but the natures of the chess pieces and the natures of the slots were different. Based on the slots the chess pieces were put in, the power the chess pieces could release would be various. Put the right chess piece into the right slot of the star map was the basic rule of Star Go. Just like the real starry sky, the star map would change as time went by. Putting the stars into the star map was the biggest change. If the player put a fire-type chess piece into the slot that was also fire-type, the fire element in this area of the star map would become stronger. On the contrary, if the player put an ice-type chess piece into the fire-type slot, it would reduce the fire element in this area. The rules of Star Go was to put the right chess pieces into the right slots to gain advantages, eat the opponent's chess pieces or break the opponent's layout. The star map would affect the nature of the chess pieces, and the chess pieces would change the star map too. The infinite changes on the star map would be the battlefield of the smartest people in the endless gods' domains. Even though the 9 chess pieces Go was just the most basic star Go that was used to test the player's ability, to most people in the world, it was already an extremely difficult barrier. It seemingly only needed to put 9 of the 18 chess pieces into the right slots. However, because the star map would change automatically as time went by, it was hard to predict the effect of the chess pieces in each slot. It was a test of the player's understanding about the natures and orbits of stars, which was called the basic sense about Star Go. The battle would start when putting down the first chess piece. To most sophists who came to the starry sky chessboard, they could figure out thousands of permutations from the several limitations. The stronger the star map became after filling up the slots, the higher score the player would obtain. Only the people who achieved great scores could really enter the starry sky chessboard, playing with the smartest people all over the gods' domains. To the people who had obtained the star point, even just 1 star point, this test was just a simple warm-up exercise. Unfortunately, Cassina hadn't come to this mystery world yet. To be precise, Cassina only came to a mystery world in the Sky Tower, the Battle Gods Championship contest. Naturally, Cassina had no record in this world, which meant that she was a 0-star point newbie, and Yunxi had to learn the rules of Star Go from the beginning. Of course, Yunxi hadn't known any of this now. Oh, it looks pretty easy. No wonder that teacher Cassina thought that I can achieve 100 successive victories easily. Yunxi picked a transparent, green chess piece, putting it into the first slot of the chessboard. Yes, it's super easy to you, master. Maya smiled sitting on Yunxi's shoulder. Yunxi didn't know the reason, but he naturally thought that it was right to put the green chess piece into the first slot. In his mind, it would be strange if he didn't put it into the slot, because it was an integral part of that starry sky from the beginning. After putting down the first chess pieces, he quickly picked up the second chess piece and the third chess piece. Invisible waves spread around from the chessboard, connecting the 3 green chess pieces together. The starry sky on the chessboard was the holy land that was blessed by wind. The 3 chess pieces were the 3-state formation in this star field. After Yunxi put down the 3 chess pieces, a circulation formed amongst the 3 stars. The outline of the sanctuary of wind appeared. If describing it using the terms of Star Go, a KO just formed, which meant that Yunxi had controlled this star field on the star map. He could eat all the other chess pieces in this area. When the first KO formed, the chessboard emitted soft green lights. The appearance of the Sanctuary of Wind had proved that Yunshi was qualified to play with other chess players, so he passed the test. Have I passed the test? Yunshi felt that Star Go was really easy. At least, it was easier and more interesting than the boring mathematics practice. Oh, it would be better if mathematics was as simple as Star Go. Puff. The old shaman of the Western Gods domain spat blood on the chessboard. Oh, no. I calculated wrong. He had learned the rules of Star Go over hundreds of years. In order to take part in the regulation game of Star Go, he had drunk dozens of elixirs of wisdom, and used all the support magics he knew. At least, he was sure that his computing power had reached the legend rank today, but he still failed the entrance test. He wasn't the only person who failed the entrance test. The 9 chess pieces go. Why? No. My computation wasn't wrong. It's the world. The rule of this world is wrong. The 17th master of the Yi sword sect, Taoist priest Qing Feng cried. After putting down 8 chess pieces into the slots, he found that he went into a dead end. He couldn't accept the result. No, I don't believe it. Why was my computation wrong? He spat out blood. John, the hero-ranked Holy Knight, the top one wise general of the Western Gods domain, held his forehead. He just calculated till he felt dizzy, and finally, all the chess pieces exploded because he put them into the wrong slots, which meant that he failed the test. The Starry Sky chessboard not only tested the player's wisdom and computing power, but also tested their understanding about the rules of stars. Even if one was at the legend rank, it was useless when referring to playing Star Go. This was the reason why only very few people could pass the test and become formal chess players. Most of the time, only 20 or 30 people could play the Star Go on the Starry Sky chessboard. Each of them was the wise man above all wise men. The people understood the rules of stars very well. They really were the real legends of wisdom in the endless God domain world. I translated the terms of Star Go by using the terms of the game of Go. Ding. As the last grain of sand dropped to the bottom of the sandglass, the entire entrance test was over. There were hundreds of people who could set foot onto the stairs in the Sky Tower, God Tower, and Dragon Tower. Arguably, they were the real elites and wise men in the endless gods' domains. Some of them were knights, who never conceded on the battlefield. Some of them were monks, who penanced, trying to understand the rules of the world. Some of them were sages who built tall magic towers. There were even real gods, dragons, and mysterious living beings. Undoubtedly, it was a celebration of the highest wisdom in the endless god domain world. It was a stage that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Finally, when the entrance test finished, there were only 47 people who were formally allowed to enter the Starry Sky chessboard. The entrance test has finished. You have passed the test. Please choose your code name. A huge chessboard appeared in front of Yunshi. One star after another started to appear on the chessboard. Every star meant a chess player who would join the game. It was the battlefield of wisdom. Even gods would be excited on this stage of glory. Almost all the 47 people were legend-ranked living beings. Only a few of them were hero-ranked living beings. They could pass the entrance test of the 9 chess pieces Go, which meant that they had very special abilities or bloodlines that could let them obtain legend-ranked computing power. 47 people? Oh, this means that several new star points will be born. Norn, the god of wisdom, habitually calculated the standard of the chess players. Every time, the Starry Sky chessboard would appear in the 7 towers randomly, so the number of the chess players would change every time. This time, there were 47 chess players. In Norn's memory, the chess players this time were the most. Because of Norn, the god of wisdom, the entire Western Gods domain was fanatical to Star Go. He himself was the recognized strongest chess player, the only 6 star points in the 7 towers. As expected, the ruby dragon of the Dragon Tower also comes this time. He looked at the bright star in the north. In the Starry Sky chessboard, the higher star points one had obtained, the brighter one's star would become. As the only 6 star points chess player, the god who once obtained 60 successive victories, his star was the brightest. However, even so, he didn't know if he could obtain more than 60 successive victories this time. Because playing Star Go would drain his spiritual strength. When entering the last phase, he would have to play with the chess players who weren't inferior to him, thus the consuming of his spiritual strength, he would be unable to replenish it at that time. It was a real harsh battlefield of wisdom. Even to him, it was almost impossible to obtain 100 successive victories. In fact, he knew that his 60 successive victories last time was because of luck. The Ruby Dragon Orfina's go strength was just half and half with him. He defeated Orfina after she obtained 50 successive victories, and she defeated him after he obtained 60 successive victories. The gap between 5 star points and 6 star points wasn't wide. If he wasted too much energy when playing with Orfina, it would even be possible to be defeated by 4 star points chess players. Everything was possible on the Starry Sky chessboard. Even Norn couldn't avoid failure if he didn't give his whole attention to any of his opponents. He was the strongest chess player, because his record was stable. He had more than 50% chance to defeat any of the 5 star points chess players. Although Orfina wasn't inferior to him, she liked to take risks when playing, so her record was unstable. When Norn was observing other people were also observing the opponents around themselves. Theoretically, if you didn't quit, you could play as many turns as you wanted here. Therefore, everyone on the Starry Sky chessboard would meet each other more than once. Most of them already became acquaintances, only several new faces appeared this time. The God of Wisdom was Norn's codename, Ruby Princess was Orfina's codename. She was called the smartest dragon in the dragon god's domain, and her true body was a star. Apart from them too, there were several 4 star points chess players, such as Black Mage, Maple Teeth, and Duck Rome. They also defeated the God of Wisdom and Ruby Princess several times. Compared to them, the new chess players had 0 star points now, so most of them didn't pay too much attention to these newbies. This time, there were 4 new chess players. Maha Mystery, apparently, it was an Eastern-style codename. This was a new chess player from the Sky Tower. Hero of Might, this was a mysterious chess player from the Dragon Tower. Cyber Elf Alpha, nobody heard this codename before. Maybe it was a legend-ranked elf. A Cloud in the Sky, it really was a strange codename. Nobody knew who this new chess player was. At this time, nobody would know what a storm these newbies would roll up. Everyone looked at the 2 strongest chess players, Norn and Orfina, and expected an earth-shattering competition between them. Okay, I will use this codename. Yunshi was satisfied with the codename he just chose. A cloud in the sky meant that he wanted to be as free as the cloud in the sky. What a gorgeous chessboard. Yunshi looked at the huge chessboard and immediately fell in love with it. It was the most complicated, most mysterious, and most beautiful thing he had ever seen. In the continuously rotating nebula, there were endless star maps. Just looking at the chessboard, Yunshi felt as if he was looking at the history of stars. This thing, Maya supported her arms, observing the mysterious chessboard. As a star spirit, she instinctively felt something from the chessboard. It was familiar and strange. It was close and distant. It looked as if a web that mixed up all the star maps in the past, at present, and in the future together. The ranking of the Starry Sky chessboard isn't inferior to the Sky Tower itself. As the stars on the chessboard started to twinkle and shine, they dropped onto the huge star map one by one. Each star stood for a chess player. Amongst all of the stars of Norn and Orfina were the brightest. Unknowingly, only Yunshi hadn't entered the chessboard. All right, let's go. Yunshi and Maya flew to the infinite lights of stars. The battle had just begun. In the Sky Tower, Dragon Tower, and God Tower, one legend-ranked being after another cast their eyes onto the light ball stood for the Starry Sky chessboard. They couldn't join this competition, but they could see the record of the chess players the Starry Sky chessboard published. As the highest crystallization of wisdom in the endless God domain world, the winner of this game would become the focus of attention by everyone. In the recent 1,000 years, the God Tower was dominant. Norn the God of Wisdom made a great contribution to it. Because he won repeatedly on the Starry Sky chessboard, a lot of sophists were born in the Western God's domain, which contributed a great amount of achieving points for the God Tower. Therefore, almost all God's domains started to learn Star Go in the recent 1,000 years, and they had explored many new strategies of Star Go. It would be doomed to be an era that all stars were shining. Yunshi looked at the monk who had 3 eyes, 6 arms, and bright lights all over his body. He was shocked. Maha mystery, he was Yunshi's first opponent. They both were newbies. But in Yunshi's eyes, he was really an eminent monk. Oh, benefactor, you are predestined with Buddha. The monk's 6 arms held a vase, a pearl, a vajra, a wand, a sword, and a Buddhist sutra. He saluted to Yunshi. Namo Amita Buddha. He was the strongest secret weapon of Buddhism, sacred monk Maha. Yunshi gawked. He never saw such a monk whose body was covered with golden lights. Is he a living Buddha? Because of the rule of the starry sky chessboard, the monk's face was covered by starlights. However, his golden, gorgeous kasaya and talismans still made Yunshi feel ashamed of his own unseemliness. He must be an enlightenment monk. Even if he said in fact, I'm the Nirmanakaya of Bodhisattva, I come here to convert you to Buddhism. Yunshi would believe his words. Of course, Yunshi never planned to believe in Buddha and convert to Buddhism. He still dreamed of a better future after he got rid of his ex-girlfriend's hunting and married the girl he liked. At least, he still thought that this dream would come true someday now. Yunshi's strength was no match for the Enlightenment monk's Dharma body. Fortunately, they were on the starry sky chessboard. They only needed to break a lance using the chess pieces. There were 2 golden hourglasses between both of them, which looked similar to Cassina's Sand of Time. When the game started, first, they needed to determine who was on the offensive, by guessing if the number of chess pieces were odd or even. After that, they could think before the sands in the hourglass ran out in their turn. Apart from that, their true faces would be covered by starlights, but they could use avatars to show their identities. Odd. Yunshi said. Even. Maha mystery said. The number of the chess pieces was odd. Yunshi was on the offensive. He could put his chess piece first. He took a deep breath. Take it easy, it doesn't matter. This is just a simple game, otherwise, Teacher Cassina wouldn't be so sure that I could obtain 100 successive victories. Even though he looks like an enlightenment monk, it doesn't mean that his star go strength is strong. Yes, it must be the truth. When the sequence of moving the chess pieces was determined, a vast star map appeared in front of them. The star map was far more complicated than the star map of the 9 chess pieces go. Amitabha. When the star map appeared, the sacred monk Maha closed his eyes. His body turned into 3 incarnations, looking at the mysterious star map together. His first incarnation picked a flower, put it in his hand and smiled. His second incarnation sat on a lotus with a sad look. His third incarnation laughed heartily with a big belly and red face. His first incarnation was Manjusri Bodhisattva. His second incarnation was Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. His third incarnation was Buddha Maitreya. His Buddha Dharma Maha mystery could let him borrow the powers of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. At this time, the sacred monk Maha borrowed the powers of the Bodhisattvas and Buddha, trying to figure out the secret of the star map using their theurgy. Yunshi didn't know what the sacred monk Maha was doing at all. He just picked up a chess piece and put it into the slot in the center of the chessboard, where was called Tengen. Well, as expected, Star Go is pretty easy. This was Yunshi's feeling about his first game. The monk made a lot of mistakes. As a star spirit, Maya easily found over 10 mistakes the sacred monk Maha made. In fact, Maha's line of thinking wasn't wrong, but from his second round, the natures of the chess pieces he put down had very few differences with the areas on the star map. No, he didn't make everything wrong, it was just a very subtle, inconspicuous mistake. The nature of the area his chess pieces occupied were changing. He shouldn't launch any fierce attack in this situation. Star Go was different from Go, although a few of the rules of the 2 games were similar. However, the chessboard of Star Go was a changing star map. The chess pieces on the star map would affect the star map and the star map would affect the chess pieces too. Maha's biggest mistake was that he thought that Yunshi was a newbie, so he let down his guard and launched an imprudent attack. Even if his opponent was a 4 star points chess piece, his opponent would be careful about his attack. Apart from Orfina, who would definitely strike back immediately, other people would stand firmly and fight steadily in the face of his attack. However, Yunshi's style was different from any other chess player. In his eyes, Maha's fierce attack was equal to bringing about his own destruction. When Yunshi's chess pieces formed the first KO, he had dominated the chessboard. Even in theory, Maha didn't have any chance to win. That was the reason his three incarnations sighed together. No, it wasn't because Maha was weak. He created the Buddha Dharma Maha mystery and obtained the pictures of mandala. His computing power was actually in the top 3 list. Unfortunately, his opponent was Yunshi, the newbie who didn't need to calculate and only played chess on his feelings. At the same time, on another star map, the top 10 chess player last time, the wise man whose codename was Duck Rome stared at his remaining chess pieces in fear. What happened? Am I defeated? How could it be true? Is she really a newbie? Her strong computing power and terrible sense of pressure, he never saw anyone like her before. Maybe even Norn, the god of wisdom, couldn't win against her when it came to computing power. Her computing power was far stronger than any human. No, even gods were no match for her. She forced him to the corner within 30 rounds. How weird her star go style was. I concede. Duck Rome threw down his remaining chess pieces. It couldn't be called a competition. The gap between them was so wide that he couldn't keep playing with her. He had a feeling that she would really become a dark horse of this term of Stargo competition. Her computing power and deductive ability were even stronger than any god he had seen. He couldn't imagine what he was facing. Cyber Elf Alpha, looking at her codename, he sighed for the countless mysteries in the world of Stargo again. Monsters really exist. In the Kunlun god's domain, on the altar in the Sky Tower. A group of monks looked at the record the Starry Sky chessboard showed. How can it be possible? Maha was defeated in the first game. He created Maha mystery. Who can defeat him so easily? A cloud in the sky, who is he? They were really shocked, because they knew although this was the first time Maha came into the Starry Sky chessboard, but in the tests they did before, after borrowing powers from Manjusri Bodhisattva, Ksitagarbha Bodhisattva and Maitreya Buddha, his Stargo strength could be enhanced to 5 star point. If he burned the pictures of mandala, his Stargo strength could even be increased to 6 star points, at the same level with Norn, the god of wisdom. How could he be defeated by an unknown newbie in the first game? Who the hell is the cloud in the sky? Yunshi, the 10th game. His opponent had 3 star points, whose codename was Dao Quanzi, was one of the elders of the Heaven Roads Palace and the master of the Plough Palace. Hey, young boy, the future belongs to you young people, but now, it's still our era. Looking at Yunshi, Dao Quanzi smiled. Oh, he is undoubtedly a newbie. When did I see a newbie put the first chess piece in the center of the chessboard last time? He just gave up his first round of the game. Maha, yes, I thought so before too. Well, yes, nice to meet you. Yunshi touched his head in confusion. Why didn't everyone see it? Putting the first chess piece in the center of the chessboard, the place called Tengen is the basic of Stargo. In his view, Tengen was the most stable point in the entire star map. If describing it used the mathematical term he just learned, it was the initial point of everything. As long as he put the first chess piece at Tengen, he could perceive the trend and change of the entire star map. When his chess piece occupied the Tengen, he could see all the natures of chess pieces and areas on the star maps. Why didn't everyone put their chess piece at Tengen? Yunshi felt strange. Why did they give up their chance to obtain this upper hand? When Yunshi was on the offensive, he would always put his first chess piece at Tengen. Even if he was on the defensive, he would put his chess piece at Tengen as soon as possible. As long as he put his chess piece at Tengen, he had one half of the game. No wonder that teacher Cassina thought that I could obtain 100 successive victories easily. Because it's really easy. After 100 rounds, Dao Quanzi looked at the chessboard with his mouth wide opened. I was defeated. When did it happen? When did all of my chances of winning disappear? Who am I? Where am I from? Where will I go? Why was I defeated so suddenly? Even when I played with Norn, the god of wisdom, the strongest 6 star points chess player, I didn't lose so scandalously. Look at the chessboard. The dragon formed by my chess pieces are trapped by 3 KO, and all of them are green sanctuary of wind. Every KO was like a big hole in the formation of Dao Quanzi's chess pieces. Even to Norn, the god of wisdom, it was already a desperate situation. Are you really a newbie? Looking at the opponent's unknown name, Dao Quanzi only wanted to cry. He was from the Sky Tower, just like that secret weapon of Buddhism. Where is this monster from? Why didn't I hear anything about him before? As the master of the Plough Palace, he didn't believe that he would be defeated so easily. Stargo wasn't a game that could be practiced alone. When the Starry Sky chessboard didn't open, he and other chess players would practice themselves using simulated chessboards. They used the Starry Sky as their chessboard, the real stars as their chess pieces. It was the privilege of the legend rank. Occasionally, a few talented hero-ranked newbies would be guided and supported by them and joined this game. Although the best imitation till now could only simulate a small part of the real Starry Sky chessboard, it was better than nothing. Yes, I'm a newbie. Yunxi nodded, looking at Dao Quanzi with a strange look. Why don't he concede? Maha counted the chess pieces on the chessboard. Even if Dao Quanzi retracted 10 rounds on the chessboard, he still has no chance to win. He still insisted on fighting to the teeth and refused to concede. Yes, never concede was Dao Quanzi's style of playing Stargo. Even though the situation was already irreparable, he would hold on till the last moment. It has nothing to do with the game, it's his road of cultivation, his respect and faith. He would never concede. However, even though he didn't want to concede, the situation on the chessboard was too terrible. Dao Quanzi almost shouted out loud. How did you find all my tricks and block them all? This round of game was even able to leave a psychological shadow in his heart. When Dao Quanzi was thinking, Yunxi already connected his chess pieces together. From the beginning till now, this was the most satisfying round of the game. How to describe his feeling? Yunxi felt that his first opponent, the sacred monk Maha Mystery's attack power was the strongest. He was the only opponent who had eaten 3 of Yunxi's chess pieces. Compared to Maha, Dao Quanzi was more persistent. Although he actually had no chance to reverse the situation, he still kept playing. Yunxi realized that Dao Quanzi was a real player. Even though he was already doomed to be defeated, he was still enjoying every second and minute of playing Stargo. He was just like robbing Peter to pay Paul, he just refused to give up. In the face of such a chess player who enjoyed the process of playing Stargo, Yunxi thought that he could try something different on the chessboard. Dao Quanzi suddenly found that he could find a living road on the chessboard. His dragon had been swallowed by Yunxi's 3 Sanctuary of Wind. Theoretically, he should concede after that. But he was really enjoying the process of playing Stargo, so he held on till now, and he really saw a chance of winning. He didn't expect that the situation suddenly changed after his dragon was eaten. Is this my opportunity? Dao Quanzi was wild with joy. Pa. 3 rounds later, he made a KO for himself, eating several Yunxi's chess pieces. Yunxi smiled. Maha covered her mouth, stopping herself from laughing out loud. Yunxi leisurely put a chess piece on the corner of the chessboard. Dao Quanzi hurriedly ate Yunxi's chess pieces, trying to recover his lost territory. The 130th round, Dao Quanzi laughed. He thought that he had reversed the situation. What a miracle. I didn't think that I could do this in my life. After this game, my Stargo strength should be able to raise to 4 star points. Yes, I can win. I can defeat this monster like newbie. Pa. Yunxi put down his last chess piece. The miracle of Stargo appeared in front of him. The KO on the chessboard were all connected together, eating all Dao Quanzi's chess pieces at once. The entire chessboard emitted green lights, sweeping through everything. What? This is... Dao Quanzi's mouth opened wide. He never expected that this scene would really happen. All of his chess pieces were eliminated. Yunxi's chess pieces formed a KO that covered the entire chessboard, which was nearly impossible to appear in Stargo. Dao Quanzi tried to remember what this meant in the rules of Stargo. If the chessboard was a real starry sky, then Yunxi's stars had just changed the rules of the world, the disaster of sky and earth. Tengen is really useful. Looking at Dao Quanzi, Yunxi felt a strong emotion in his heart, though couldn't see his face. In order to launch the disaster of Sky and Earth, Yunshi needed to meet a lot of preconditions. Anyone wanting to accomplish this needed to master the star map on the chessboard, so it was necessary to put the first chess piece onto Tengen. In the changing star map, only Tengen was always stable. It was the core of the entire star map. It's really a rewarding trip. The disaster of Sky and Earth really exist. Thank you. Looking at a cloud in the sky, Dao Quanzi sighed. He wasn't ashamed to be defeated by the disaster of Sky and Earth. After this, come to Heaven Road Palace. Then we could play for 3 days and nights. Yunshi now had 10 victories in a row. The light above Yunshi's head flashed. In a second, the starlights around him became brighter. It meant that he had just formally become a chess player who had 1 star point. This identity was already sufficient to become an honored guest of all forces in the endless god domains world. Because of Norn the god of wisdom, it was a trend to play Star Go in the high society of the endless gods domains. Many legend-ranked beings were learning Star Go, but couldn't even step into the starry sky chessboard. Any chess player who had obtained a star point, even just 1 star point, could be the tutor of these exalted legend-ranked beings. Even if Yunshi left the Sky Tower now, his identity of 1 star point chess player was already able to let him live comfortably. 10 successive victories, it was already a shocking achievement amongst newbies. However, this time, compared to Yunshi, there was a more terrible monster around. The 4 star points chess player, Black Mage's 13th round game. Black Mage unluckily met Norn the god of wisdom at his 2nd round and was defeated. Apart from this, his play was smooth and he had achieved 10 successive victories. It wasn't a bad thing to meet Norn at the 2nd round. Based on the unwritten rules of Star Go, for a long time, he wouldn't meet Norn again, which meant that it was perfectly possible to achieve a series of victories. If he was lucky, he could achieve 20, no, 30, no, even 40 successive victories, as long as he didn't meet Orfina the Ruby Dragon quickly. Moreover, he still stood a chance to defeat Orfina even if he met her. His style was weird when he played Star Go, his attack was often abrupt and unexpected. Norn's style was stable, he wouldn't be affected by Black Mage's tricks, but his style restrained Orfina's style. He was one of the few 4 star points chess players who could break even with Orfina. If I'm really lucky, it's even possible to achieve 60 successive victories. Maybe I can become a 6 star points chess player after this game, just like Norn the god of wisdom. With such a joyful idea, Black Mage started his 13th round of the game. In the game, not everyone's round of the game was the same. Based on the time they defeated their opponent or was defeated by their opponent, the rounds they had played were different. When Black Mage played with Norn the god of wisdom, the battle between them lasted for a long while. The gap between 4 star points and 6 star points wasn't wide enough to let Norn defeat him quickly. Even Norn was defeated after his 60 successive victories the last time. He was defeated by Orfina, Duck Rome, and even him, Black Mage almost defeated Norn once. Black Mage tested out Norn's Star Go strength this time just now. He had to admit that he wasn't likely to defeat Norn this time in the game. However, it's not a shame. Norn was the only 6 star points chess player, everyone was defeated by him more than once. 3 star points. Cyber Elf Alpha, Black Mage casually took a glance at his opponent's codename and star point. Suddenly, he froze. Cyber Elf Alpha, isn't she one of the 4 newbies? How can it be possible that she already obtained 3 star points? 3 star points meant that she had achieved 30 successive victories, but she was just a newbie. If it's true, when I have just played 13 rounds of the game, she has won 30 rounds. No, it can't be true. Star Go will drain large amounts of mental strength. It's not surprising to play several hours in a round of the game. I did waste too much time when I played with Norn, but 30 rounds? Are you kidding me? Pa. Before Black Mage reacted, Cyber Elf Alpha had put down her first chess piece. Do you look down on me? How dare you give up your upper hand advantage? Black Mage sneered when he saw the place of Cyber Elf Alpha's first chess piece. Humph, I don't know who you are probably a legend rank elf, it doesn't matter. The bloodline of pointy ears is indeed special. However, I'm not a mortal either. I'm a dark mage who has activated my bloodline, the uncrowned king of 10 gods' domains. In order to practice StarGo, I even made a real star map in the real world, using real stars as my chess pieces. As a newbie, how dare you put the first chess piece in the center of the chessboard, where the Tengen is? Very well, I will teach you the cruel law of the jungle of StarGo. Amongst all the top 10 chess players, apparently, Black Mage wasn't the strongest. His wisdom was far inferior to Norn the god of wisdom, and his attack power was far inferior to Orfina the ruby dragon. However, he was the only 4-star points chess player who could withstand Orfina's attack. His style of playing StarGo was weird. No one knew what the layout of his chess pieces was and how he would launch his attack, because they didn't exist from the beginning. He was good at the layout of the middle chess pieces, dragging everything on the chessboard into the realm of chaos. Even Orfina was cheated by his tricks more than once. Black Mage believed that even Norn fell into his trap, he wouldn't have any chance to escape. Unfortunately, Norn never fell into his trap. Norn's style was too stable, and his computing power was strong. When coming to direct confrontation, he had no chance to win. However, Norn the god of wisdom was just an exception. Even if it was Duck Rome, once he failed to stop him, Black Mage would drag the entire layout of the chess pieces into chaos. Once he created confusion, muddying the waters, he had 1,000 methods to kill his enemy. The star map he made in the real world was called Sea of Chaos. There were thousands of small meteorites moving around in the sea. By observing the chaotic meteorites, he learned his own road of stars. He didn't think that he would fail this time. At the 60th rounds, his chess pieces had been indented with his opponent's chess pieces together, and this was the situation he wanted to see on the chessboard. Even if it was Norn the god of wisdom, he would have headaches facing this situation. Chaos was the truth of the world in his eyes. In the eyes of Black Mage, he had seen the trace of countless stars being destroyed. It was his KO, his invisible killing method. After putting down 7 more chess pieces, Black Mage's proud KO finally formed. It was a hexagram taking a black chess piece as the core. It was Black Mage's strongest attack, Black Death hexagram. The star map was covered with the air of death. The hexagram on the chessboard stood for the end of all things. Revive, the undead. Behind Black Mage's cold cloak, a shadow with a black sickle and a white bone mask appeared, staring at a corner of the chessboard. The game is over. Once the Black Death hexagram appeared, even Black Mage himself couldn't stop it. A long abyss appeared and divided Cyber Elf Alpha's chess pieces into 2 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the face of Black Mage's strongest attack, Cyber Elf Alpha leisurely put down a chess piece. What? Black Mage was surprised. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hexagrams with different colors surrounded his black hexagram. Green hexagram stood for the power of wind. Yellow hexagram stood for the power of earth. Red hexagram stood for the power of fire. Blue hexagram stood for the power of sea. The 4 hexagrams surrounded his black hexagram. To be precise, the reason that the 4 hexagrams could form was because of his black hexagram. 4 elements, elf phenomenon. Cyber Elf Alpha waved her hands. Black Mage's black hexagram was swallowed by her 4 hexagrams. Over 60% of his chess pieces turned into ashes too at the same time. Black Mage was defeated. When had she found my purpose? Before the 50th rounds, even he himself didn't know where his Black Death hexagram would form. This was the reason why it was called the Sea of Chaos, because even he himself didn't know what his next plan was. Most people would be defeated before opportunity appeared. Because he was good at catching the chance, he could reach 4 star points. He never expected that he would be defeated by his opponent by using his style. She predicted his moves and used his trap to set a big trap. How strong her computing power was. Her computing power was far stronger than him. Her StarGo strength was much better than his. Maybe even when the plan of setting the Black Death hexagram just appeared in his brains, his failure was already doomed. He had been defeated 30 rounds ago. How can it be true? How can your computing power be so strong? Black Mage looked at the chessboard in shock and disbelief. From 30 rounds ago, she had predicted this future. This meant that her computing power was hundreds of times stronger than his. As a legend-ranked mage who dominated 10 gods' domains, Black Mage's mental strength was far above the average, but now, Cyber Elf Alpha computing power was hundreds of times stronger than his. She herself was stronger than hundreds of legend-ranked beings. No, it's impossible. Even to Norn, the god of wisdom, it was impossible to reach this degree. There is something wrong. Even if you are a god, your computing power can't be so strong, not to mention a legend-ranked elf. What are you? Black Mage instinctively realized that there was a secret behind it. The nature of Star Go was a battle of computing power, which was also called deduction ability. If the gap between two chess players' computing powers was too wide, the result was already doomed. Most hero-ranked beings weren't entitled to enter the starry sky chessboard, because their computing powers were too weak. Unless the bloodline of the hero-ranked being was about computing power, it wasn't possible for them to find the suitable places to put down their chess players in the changing star map. Legend-ranked mental power was the basis to play Star Go. Only after reaching this level was it possible to play Star Go. Even so, a lot of legend-ranked beings couldn't even pass the entrance test, the 9 chess pieces Go. Why was Norn the strongest chess player? Apart from his stable style, his computing power was specially optimized by his guardhood. This was his biggest advantage. Perhaps Orfina the Ruby Dragon's computing power was stronger than Norn's, however, the god of wisdom had optimized his computing power, which meant that he could release 120% of his true power, so he was the only 6 star points chess player. However, compared to Cyber Elf Alpha, their computing powers were just a joke. Even overlapped Orfina and Norn's competing powers together, their computing power was just 1% of the computing power Cyber Elf Alpha had shown. In the Western God's domain, the Mechanus God's domain, Alpha was still sitting in the God Crystal. The mental antennas on her forehead shook, requiring for higher computing power. The alchemists and engineers cheered. Launch the 11th and 12th planet quantum computer. Cooling. Ensure the absolute advantage of Alpha's projection. We will earn every game. The Ruby Dragon and the God of Wisdom are just old-fashioned antiques. The future belongs to Cyber Elf Alpha. Haha, I guess these 3 star points and 4 star points chess players are going to collapse. Our Alpha just opened 12 planet computers. We just used 10% of our true power. Even the God of Wisdom is nothing in the face of our Alpha. Our Alpha has infinite computing power. Laughter burst from the alchemists and engineers. After thousands of years from obtaining the God Crystal, building all the supporting facilities, 10 generations of people had been born and passed away. Now, only several elf engineers were the original planners who designed Alpha. Today, the crystallization of countless people's wisdom finally blossomed and yielded fruit. Black Mage wasn't wrong. As the newborn cybergod, Alpha could increase her computing power by adding more and more additional computing elements. She was the only god who had the god ability, infinite computing power. Even Norn the god of wisdom couldn't defeat her when coming to computing power. All the elites in the Mechanus God's domain believed that Alpha would be the only victor of all the games of the Starry Sky chessboard from now on. This was the beginning of a brand new era. This was the first announcement of the rise of the Mechanus God's domain. The era of Alpha was coming. Black Mage stayed where he was for a long while after being defeated. Am I defeated? Has my ambition of achieving 60 successive victories already failed? Who am I? Where am I? What just happened? Just like all the chess players who met Alpha before, Black Mage started to wonder about the meaning of his life. Suddenly, a starlight flashed and a new name appeared in the front of Black Mage. A cloud in the sky. Black Mage remembered that it was the codename of another newbie. Oh, he has achieved 10 successive victories and obtained 1 star point. As a newbie, he did really well. From the aura of his projection, he should be at the legend rank. After all, his exuberant vitality couldn't be fake. However, after meeting the monster, Cyber Elf Alpha, Black Mage suddenly felt that the newbie was quite pleasing to the eye. I can't win against that monster, but it will be quite easy to maltreat other newbies. Looking at the 1 star point newbie, a cloud in the sky, Black Mage sneered. Come on, newbie, let me enjoy the game. Pa. After the routine to decide who went first, Yunshi was on the offensive. He directly put the first chess piece onto Tengen. Hey, Black Mage sneered, grinding his teeth. How dare you give up your upper hand advantage? You are bringing about your own destruction. Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power was hundreds of times stronger than any legend-ranked beings. Black Mage didn't believe that there would be another monster this time. Therefore, when he saw Yunshi put his first chess piece onto Tengen, he forced a ferocious smile. Do you really think that you are a monster like Cyber Elf Alpha? Newbie, I will teach you what a cruel world the Starry Sky chessboard is. Pa. Both of them put down their chess pieces quickly, and Black Mage smoothly brought the situation on the chessboard into chaos. Very well, I will win. Black Mage carefully observed the style of a cloud in the sky, and he confirmed that his style of playing Star Go wasn't like Alpha's strange style at all. His moves have shown that he is totally a newbie. How did he successfully pass the entrance test? He is totally a beginner of Star Go. How did he achieve 10 victories in a row before? Black Mage didn't find any trap on the chessboard and any strange moves of Yunshi's chess pieces. After being defeated by Cyber Elf Alpha, he needed such a game to rebuild his self-confidence. The 53rd round, Black Mage successfully summoned the Black Death hexagram again. The shadow of Black Cloak appeared behind Black Mage again. He sneered as cold as a god of death. When his Black Death hexagram launched, 1/5 of Yunshi's chess pieces were eaten. Ha. Black Mage laughed in a creepy tone. The newbie has been recorded on the list of the god of death. He already has no chance to reverse the situation. Even Orfina the Ruby Dragon was defeated by Black Mage's Black Death hexagram once. How can this newbie escape from it? Cyber Elf Alpha could win, because she had predicted the appearance of his Black Death hexagram by using her terrible computing power. She summoned 4 hexagrams by using the power of his hexagram itself. Unless this newbie's computing power was also hundreds of times stronger than his, otherwise, it wasn't possible to reproduce what Cyber Elf Alpha did before. The deduction, prediction, tricks and plans in his game with Alpha was massive. If they wrote their calculation procedures on papers, Black Mage's calculation could cover the surface of a land and Cyber Elf Alpha's calculation could cover the entire surface of a world. After learning from the game with Alpha, Black Mage became more careful. Even though his opponent was just a newbie, he wouldn't give him any chance. Only a thorough victory could help him restore confidence. It's time now. Looking at the KO Black Mage made, Yunshi nodded. Black Mage was probably the strongest chess player he had ever met. From the beginning, Black Mage was preparing for the appearance of the KO. This was Black Mage's style, chaotic trap, which he created after playing Star Go thousands of times in the sea of chaos he built in the real world. Cyber Elf Alpha's style was building on the planet quadrant computers and all kinds of affiliated satellites. Black Death hexagram was Black Mage's road of victory. Infinite computing power was Cyber Elf Alpha's absolute advantage of winning. Black Mage dragged his opponent into the sea of chaos, then defeated his opponent by using his rich experience. Cyber Elf Alpha analyzed her opponent's advantage and made up her own disadvantage by her overwhelming computing power. Their styles seemed to be different, but the nature was the same. Most chess players followed the same rule. No matter what the style was, the basic was computing power. Every chess player of Star Go was a real mathematician that had overwhelming, godlike computing power. Till today, an unknown newbie broke into this world. Yunshi put down his chess piece. The wind rises. This chess piece stood for connection. After being put down, 1/3 of the area on the chessboard became the sanctuary of wind. What? Black Mage opened his mouth wide. How can this be possible? No, the sanctuary of wind, it's not even possible for that to appear in that area. Moreover, it has occupied 1/3 of the area of the chessboard. Compared to Yunshi's sanctuary of wind, his Black Death hexagram was too small. They aren't at the same level. Where am I? Who is playing with me? What happened? Oh, right. When did he build the Sanctuary of Wind? That area doesn't meet any of the requirements for establishing the Sanctuary of Wind. Hiss. The green sanctuary of wind was 3 times larger than the black death hexagram. It easily blew off the dark air on the star map. The shadow of the god of death behind Black Mage cried and was deported from the chessboard immediately. In the face of the sanctuary of wind, Black Mage's black death hexagram turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. Impossible. 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 Black Mage gazed at the chessboard. He repeated Yunshi's moves over 1,000 times in his heart, but still couldn't find how this situation formed. This star map biased toward dark type. This was also the reason why he was so confident. What happened? How did the sanctuary of wind form? Am I really defeated? What the hell was happening? Black Mage had played Star Go many years, and he was defeated by many people many times. He accepted to be defeated by Orfina the Ruby Dragon, Norn the God of Wisdom, and even Cyber Elf Alpha. However, he couldn't accept what happened this time. The game with Cyber Elf Alpha made him wonder what the meaning of his life was. This game with Yunshi made him wonder if he really knew how to play Star Go. He understood how Cyber Elf Alpha defeated him. It was because of her overwhelming computing power. However, he didn't understand how he was defeated by a cloud in the sky at all. There wasn't any battle, competition, or trick. Everything went smoothly just like he thought. Then he suddenly found that he had lost. Weird. It's too weird. Black Mage never met such a style and such an opponent before. This was Yunshi's style of play Star Go. This was his unique genre of Star Go. Yunshi only put down his chess pieces by following his feelings. He didn't need to calculate at all. Black Mage could calculate the change that would happen in the next 30 rounds, calculating 1 teraflop per second. Cyber Elf Alpha was more terrible. She could easily calculate all the changes that would happen in the next 100 rounds, calculating 1 petaflop per second. As for Yunshi's computing power, he still felt headaches when seeing the mathematical books such as 9 chapters on mathematical art and geometrical principle. Why could Yunshi win? The reason was simple. When Black Mage tried to set his proud Black Death hexagram in the chaotic area, Yunshi had seen the hidden sanctuary of wind on the chessboard. Yes, Black Mage was right. The sanctuary of wind wouldn't be formed within 50 rounds. Till after the 54th round, the trace of the hidden sanctuary of wind would appear. From the chess piece he put on Tengen, Yunshi sensed the aura of the sanctuary of wind. From the beginning, he was disposing the sanctuary of wind. His instinct told him that the sanctuary of wind was the biggest KO that could be formed on this star map. When Black Mage's Black Death hexagram formed, Yunshi's sanctuary of wind was waiting for him to activate 30 rounds ago. He was just bored waiting for the coming of the wind. Actually, Black Mage was already defeated 30 rounds ago. He already couldn't stop Yunshi's sanctuary of wind from forming at that time. To Yunshi, it was as simple as 1 + 1. In his heart, Star Go was really easy that even a monkey could understand its rules. If Black Mage knew Yunshi's thought, he would definitely spit blood in anger. You can read the star map and naturally understand that the embryonic form of the sanctuary of wind would form after 50 rounds. You can see the orbits of stars by using your naked eyes. Oh damn it, if I can do it, why do I need to increase my computing power? The orbits of stars followed countless rules of the world. Every second and minute the changes that happened to a star was astronomical. Only legend-ranked beings could withstand the overwhelming calculation to predict the orbit of stars. Even gods couldn't see the traces of the star map with their eyes. It had nothing to do with computing power. It was simply impossible. His style was already beyond legend. If Black Mage's computing power was 100, Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power would be 10,000 or more. Yunshi's computing power would be only 1 or less. However, he could win, because they were not comparing the same thing. In the eyes of the Black Mage, he saw countless computing formulas when he looked at the stars. In the eyes of Yunshi, he only saw a beautiful star map formed by stars, and he naturally knew how to make it become more beautiful by moving the stars. In Black Mage's mind, Starry Sky Chessboard was a stage of showing wisdom, a competition of computing power. In Yunshi's mind, it was a matter of nature, because he just tried to arrange the patterns on a picture to make it become beautiful. This was the reason why Black Mage froze after seeing Yunshi's sanctuary of wind. Till his time ran out, he didn't put down a chess piece. Because the thread in his mind had broken. Isn't he a strange man? Yunshi remembered the chess player called Black Mage, who gave up playing after seeing Yunshi's Sanctuary of Wind. After 11 games, Yunshi gradually learned to conjecture the strength of his opponent from the star points above their heads. So far, Black Mage was the strongest, because he had 4 star points. His moves were skillful and his tricks were also very interesting. However, in Yunshi's mind, Maha Mystery's star go strength was slightly stronger than Black Mage. My opponents will be stronger and stronger. 4 star points chess player is already so strong. How about 7 star points chess player or even 9 star points chess player? Their star go strength must be as strong as a monster. Yunshi clenched his fists. Star go was really easy, and teacher Cassina thought that he could achieve 100 successive victories easily. However, he wasn't going to let down his guard. Referred to the game of Go in the mortal world, he himself should be just a beginner. A 4 star points chess player should be an average player, a 6 star points chess player should be a real expert, and a 9 star points chess player should be a high mountain that wasn't possible to climb now. He shouldn't meet 8 star points or 9 star points players too early. The strongest opponent was the 4 star points chess player, Black Mage. Perhaps it was the protection mechanism of the Starry Sky chessboard to newbies. If he only needed to play with other newbies, he was confident to achieve 100 victories in a row. Master, is Star Go interesting? Looking at Yunshi's face, even Maya could see his confidence. Yes, it's interesting. It's an easy and interesting game. I can't wait for the next turn. The star maps are beautiful. When I put down chess pieces, I felt as if I was touching the real stars. It's fantastic. Thank you, teacher Cassina. Thank you for recommending me to the Starry Sky chessboard. Maya looked around and murmured, Master, this game isn't as simple as you think. But, it doesn't matter, as long as you enjoy it. At the same time, Cyber Elf Alpha defeated another 4 star points chess player. No, impossible. What happened? The 4 star points chess player, Maple Teeth, supported his hands on the chessboard and gazed at his remaining chess pieces fixedly. He was really shocked by Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power. What are you? Everyone who had played with Alpha had this doubt in their minds. The gap of computing power couldn't be so wide amongst legend-ranked beings. Everyone was shocked by Alpha's overwhelming computing power. After defeating Maple Teeth, Cyber Elf Alpha had achieved 40 victories in a row. When other people had only played a dozen turns, Cyber Elf Alpha had achieved 40 successive victories and obtained 4 star points. Her computing power was far beyond anyone's imagination. From the beginning, none of them could take any advantages in the face of her. Most chess players were defeated by her within 50 rounds. Black Mage was a rare exception that could set and launch his KO. In some sense, Black Mage Sea of Chaos was the only star go style that made a few troubles to Alpha. In order to find the rules amongst the chaos Black Mage created on the chessboard, she had to increase her computing power tenfold. When playing with Black Mage, Cyber Elf Alpha had rarely requested support, asking for increasing the number of planet computers. After defeating Black Mage, the next 9 turns of game didn't make any trouble for Alpha. Now, there were only 2 opponents that were still blocking her way from becoming the strongest star go player. The well-known strongest attack, Orfina the Ruby Dragon. The well-known strongest defense, Norn the God of Wisdom, the only 6 star points chess player. They didn't make Alpha wait too long. As the biggest black horse, Cyber Elf Alpha finally met Norn the God of Wisdom at her 41st turn of the game. When the list appeared, it instantly attracted the eyes of all the legend-ranked beings who were looking at the Starry Sky chessboard. The biggest black horse, the supernova star of Stargo, Cyber Elf Alpha. The strongest chess player, the number 1 wise man in the endless gods' domains, Norn the God of Wisdom. Who is the strongest? Who will be the new king of Stargo? Countless people looked at the tower, waiting for the result. Cyber Elf Alpha played 40 rounds and achieved 40 victories in a row. Norn the God of Wisdom played 27 rounds and achieved 27 successive victories. No matter who was the final winner, everyone was sure that this turn of the game would become a masterpiece throughout the ages. Many people were waiting for the record of this Star Go game after they decided who was the winner. At the same time, Yunshi just started his 15th turn of the game. This smell. Hey, Cassina, is it you? Orfina the ruby dragon looked at a cloud in the sky in surprise. Even though the figure of a cloud in the sky was covered with starlights, however, Cassina was Orfina's best friend. How could she mistake the unique smell of her best friend? No, I'm not Cassina the battle god. Yunshi retorted guiltily. He was just a fake, he didn't want to expose his identity now. Liar. How will I mistake your smell? Don't forget the past we slept in the same bed. Orfina licked her lips, remembering Cassina's alluring body scent, slender legs, warm lips, and the aroma of the wine. A dragon was a kind of long-lived creature. Orfina was a rare starlight dragon, the ruby that Yasha the dragon god bred in person, the starlight dragon princess. Although she was still small, due to her elegant, beautiful dragon body and rare starlight type, she was the pride of the dragon race since the first day of her birth. She and Salabert the white holy dragon were called the twin stars of the dragon race. Cassina the battle god was Orfina's best friend. They once formed an adventure team, adventuring together. Cassina was the striker, defeating their enemies using her excellent martial arts. Orfina was the defender, eliminating their enemies using her special gem magic. They were the best friends who told each other their secrets, and the confidants who once slept on the same bed. To Orfina, Cassina was special in her heart. Cassina's character was careless, and this was the point that Orfina liked. Because of their long life, most dragons had no interest in any humans. After all, apart from legend-ranked humans, even the lives of hero-ranked humans were short in their eyes. Maybe they just went to sleep, then after they woke up, their human friends had died. Just like most dragons, Orfina also liked to sleep, however, she had a special avatar. When her true body slept in the Emerald Dream, she could use her avatar to travel around the world. Meeting with Cassina was her happiest occasion within the last 1,000 years. She clearly remembered Cassina's height, weight, and even the size of her breasts, so she would never mistake her with anyone else. The mysterious person whose codename was a cloud in the sky was undoubtedly her best friend, Cassina, the immortal battle god, whose hobby was dancing, the holder of the sands of time, Cassina the sky sword. No, you got the wrong person. Yunshi shook his head and firmly denied. Even if the ruby princess was really teacher Cassina's best friend, he wouldn't admit it. It's a secret. Ho, why are you still pretending? Orfina smiled and covered her mouth. Yes, this is her, Cassina's special character. What a liar. Yes, I don't make mistakes. If I'm wrong, it's the fault of the world. I'm not wrong. If everyone thinks that I'm wrong, I will correct the view of everyone. If the world doesn't accept me, then I will change the world. This was Cassina, the sixth sky sword, the legend who ruled the Battle Gods Championship contests. But, when did she start to play Stargo? Orfina remembered that she taught Cassina the rules of Stargo before, but she had no interest in it and even fell asleep when she listened to her lessons. She didn't even remember the basic rules of Stargo. Orfina felt sorry for her, because Stargo was her favorite game, the stage she could challenge almost all the sophists in the Endless Gods domains. Her code name Ruby Princess was well known by almost all Stargo players. After all, apart from Norn the God of Wisdom, everyone was defeated by her more than once. Black Mage thought that his Sea of Chaos could restrain her attack. What idiotic nonsense that was. When she played with Black Mage, she knew all the tricks he was playing. However, she still chose to face the tricks with her strongest attack, breaking all the obstacles in front of her. I will break all obstacles. No matter who my opponent is, god or demon, it doesn't matter. I look forward to the battle, I'm eager for the battle, only the battle can let my blood burn. March forward courageously is forever the style of my chess pieces. Orfina looked at her opponent with curiosity after confirming that it was Cassina. She didn't remember if Cassina played Stargo before, but there was already one star point above her head, which meant that Cassina had achieved 10 victories in a row, becoming one of the top 100 Stargo players. Is she really the Cassina I know? The invisible battle god started to play Stargo? Orfina felt strange. It wasn't Cassina's style at all. You go first, I give up. As Cassina's predecessor of Stargo, Orfina gave up the guessing odd and even game and let Cassina play first. Is it fine? Looking at the 5 star points above the Ruby Princess's head, Yunshi wondered. She was undoubtedly the strongest opponent he had ever met after coming to the Starry Sky chessboard. Referred to the game of Go in the real world, 5 star points meant that she was an expert of Stargo, and Yunshi could feel the strong sense of self-confidence from the Ruby Princess. Her atmosphere was far stronger than Black Mage, which could only be cultivated after countless victories. The game started. A fiery red star map appeared on the chessboard. Yunshi was slightly surprised. What a beautiful star map! Orfina praised looking at the star map. Interpreting the secrets of stars using a star map, it was an overwhelming masterpiece to Orfina the Ruby Dragon. The fire is burning. The sun comes up in the east, there is a tree called Fuso. Yunshi's hand subconsciously picked up a chess piece and put it onto the center of the chessboard. Tengen. Orfina felt both funny and annoyed. Cassina, I remember when I taught you the rules of Stargo, I told you that you shouldn't put your first chess piece onto Tengen. Putting your first chess piece onto Tengen is equal to giving up your upper hand advantage. It's common sense. If you put down your first chess piece there, you will need to calculate the situation on the entire chessboard from the beginning. It isn't a wise choice. Yunshi looked up at the Ruby Princess in confusion. Why? The most terrible KO is lurking in this position. It was a shadow with a pair of fiery red wings, flying above the 33 heavens. It was the absolute dominator of this star map. This star map is a fire type. It's possible to breed a fire type fantastic creature. I think it's a Rat Halos, an ultimate fire dragon that can defeat all creatures on this star field. You chose the red chess piece. It was a wise decision, but you put it on the wrong place. Orfina the Ruby Dragon put down a chess piece on a corner of the chessboard. If she put her chess piece in the center of the chessboard too, the depletion of her computing power would be hundreds of times more than the computing power she would use if she put her chess piece on the corner. Therefore, unless she was teaching other people the rules of Stargo, she would never put the first chess piece in the center of the chessboard. What's the most important element when playing Stargo? Computing power. Essentially, Stargo was a game to complete the computing powers of the chess players. Calculating the nature of the star map, the moves of the chess pieces and the changes that would happen as time went by. Every move on the chessboard would be determined after countless calculation. This was the essential gap between Stargo and other board games. Just like the changes of stars in the real world, even Orfina had the power of starlight. She was not quite sure that she could calculate all the changes that would happen on the chessboard. However, she naturally understood the natures of the star map and chess pieces, plus her excellent computing power. This was her trump card to be the only 5 star points chess player who was only slightly inferior to Norn the God of Wisdom. Maybe there were some people whose computing power was stronger than her, but her understanding about star maps was the best. For instance, when Orfina first saw this star map, the method of how to form the Sanctuary of Fire on the chessboard immediately appeared in her mind. She even predicted the ultimate form of the Sanctuary of Fire, a Rat Halos, one of the overlord fantastic creatures in the void. Just like what Black Mage did, using Black Death hexagram to summon the shadow of the God of Death, the strong Sanctuary of Fire could achieve the same thing. It was the skill that only high star point Stargo players could master, the phenomenon after deeply exploring the rules of stars. I will win. After predicting the figure of the Rat Halos, Orfina had seen the road of victory. Pa. 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 Orfina put down her chess pieces quickly. Even in the face of her best friend, Cassina, she wasn't going to play match-fixing. She knew Cassina was obsessed with winning, so was she. Cassina would turn into an invincible battle god in the Battle Gods Championship contest, smashing countless legend-ranked warriors' self-confidence. She did the same thing in the Starry Sky chessboard. Her purpose of playing Stargo was to pursue the thrill of victory. Therefore, no matter who her opponent was, she would defeat her opponent using the most fierce attack. Cassina, it's unexpected to see you here. I remember I didn't tell you the reason why I like to play Stargo. Orfina had confirmed that she would win this game within 10 rounds. She showed a smile of confidence on her face. I have a younger sister, her name is Miu Salabert, which means the purest white light. Yunshi's hand suddenly trembled, almost putting down his chess piece at the wrong place. Miu Salabert. Oh, it's really a familiar name. Isn't she the dragon who broke into White Lotus Sword domain and slept in the water god's world? She was the first legend-ranked being Yun she had ever seen. So, the White Holy Dragon, Miu Salabert, is the young sister of the Ruby Princess? In this case, the real identity of the Ruby Princess must be a dragon in the dragon god's domain. She is a naive but kind child. She knows nothing about the cruel world, as innocent as white paper. From the bottom of her heart, she believes that her father likes her, he just had to leave her for some reason. She believed that as long as she keeps looking for her father, she would find him someday and obtain his love again. Why do I feel that I have heard some similar words before? Unfortunately, I know it's impossible. That bastard, he abandoned his wife and child and left nothing to them. How does he deserve their love and trust? We can't change the past, but we can protect the present and create an ideal future. Every man is bad in nature. Poor Miu, she hasn't known that her father is a bastard. Her mom is just one of that man's victims. Tell me, Cassina, do you think such a father still deserves his daughter's love? Orfina asked. Well, she'd better give up looking for him. Yunshi answered honestly, and suddenly felt a chill down his back. From the description of that man, why did it sound like my past life? It must be a coincidence. Yes, it is nonsense that women are not as outstanding as men. We don't need to rely on men. We are women, but we can create our bright future with our hands. Stargo is my battlefield. I will overcome all opponents here, proving that I'm the king of the starry sky chessboard. Orfina the ruby dragon looked at Cassina with longing. Oh, my favorite soulmate. Your romantic spirit, your innocence, your wayward character, your strong strength, they are all so attractive. You are the invincible battle god, the most beautiful dancer, and now, you even start to play Stargo. You are the most perfect lover in my dream, Cassina the battle god, my light, my hope, my precious. I swear to the great stars. After I win, I will immediately ask her to marry me. It must be the arrangement of fate to let me meet her at this time, this place, this stage. This stage of the greatest wisdom in the endless gods' domains is our wedding scene. This time, I must win. Orfina's wonderful future was already close enough to touch. They were both at the legend rank and had great talents, and now, they even started to like the same game. From the bottom of her heart, Orfina thought that Cassina was the other half of her life. When she was still a child who longed for her father just like her younger sister, Miu Salabert, she asked what the feeling was to fall in love. Love is an impulse from the bottom of your heart. When you look at your lover, you will naturally realize that he is the right person. No matter how many opponents I will have, I will be the final winner. No matter how much I will pay, I will let him become my possession. Never give up, never fall back, even if the entire world is against me, I will be honest to my heart. If you meet such a person one day, just do what you want. We dragons never concede. When Orfina was bigger, she knew what the terrible mistake her father had made was. She felt confused. Mom, my father is so indecisive and frivolous, why do you like him? The great dragon god opened her black wings, covering countless stars. She answered her confused little daughter, so what? But, isn't love a resonance between two lovers? Yes, I'm also doing my best, but I still can't kill those three. The dragon god swung her tail, napping 3 newborn stars. Why don't they just quit without affectation? I'm the only one who loves him in this world. If I caught him at that time, I shouldn't be deceived by him and agree for him to build these star bridges. Ligh. Orfina's great mom's answer really shocked her young heart. For the first time, she realized that her mom wasn't omnipotent, at least, her father once deceived her mom. After that, Orfina started to study the star bridges and towers. Relying on her familiarity to stars, she finally came to the starry sky chessboard. When she first saw the star map on the starry sky chessboard, her heart was captured. She believed that this was her holy land, her battlefield. In this world, she could show herself, proving the value of her life. Just like the Battle Gods Championship contest was Cassina's highest stage, this was her highest stage too. At this time, at this place, she would defeat Cassina and obtain the highest glory in this mystery world, just like what Cassina obtained in the Battle Gods Championship contest. It would be the best celebration after proposing. Therefore, I will do my best. Calculating. 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 I will win after 7 rounds. Orfina gave her whole attention to the golden-red chessboard. Her chess pieces and Cassina's had captured all the main points on the chessboard, however, her chess pieces had dominated most of the areas on the chessboard. Cassina's chess pieces were divided into 2 corners, looking like a pair of wings that had been torn open. Anyone who knew the basic rules of Star Go could see that Orfina had occupied the absolute advantage. Cassina, don't concede quickly, I have something to say after this game. Orfina took a deep breath with a serious look. Concede. She looked at the chessboard in confusion. Everything just went smooth, the pair of wings were already going to form. Is there something I don't see? Yes, I'm sorry because I will let you face a crushing defeat, but, keep your chin up. As a rookie, you are doing well. I didn't suspect that you would also play Star Go someday. Orfina said honestly, praising Cassina, the most perfect dream lover in her heart. Gender won't be a problem. Race won't be a problem. As long as we love each other, it's enough. Cassina and I can pass through all tests and couple up happily. We can drink and chat, and do this thing and that thing every day. This was heaven in Orfina's heart. Now, she was only 6 rounds away from heaven. In fact, Cassina was still too naive in Orfina's heart. Her Star Go strength was just at the beginner level. When she put her first chess piece onto Tengen, her failure was already doomed. Well, it's easy to understand. She glanced at the chessboard again, making sure that he didn't make any mistake. Pa. 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 Every sound of putting down the chess pieces was the sweet countdown leading to heaven. The 5th round from the end of the game, the figure of rat halos had vaguely appeared. The fierce dragon was going to wake up. The 4th round from the end of the game, Something isn't right. But it doesn't matter, my victory is already mine. The 3rd round from the end of the game, victory is close at hand. Orfina started to prepare the words she would say after a while. I love you. We must have been lovers in our past lives, so we can meet each other in this life. You and your sands of time are the forever colors in my mind. You are the brightest star in the Battle Gods Championship contest, and I will pick off the crown of the starry sky chessboard, presenting it to you. In my eyes, you are so bright and beautiful today. My honey, my gem, you are my unique flower in the world. The 2nd round from the end of the game, Orfina put down the chess piece which stood for her hope and future. Cassina, marry me. 1 round. After 1 round, I can win and marry you. Okay, it's over. She put down his chess piece in the center of Orfina's chess pieces, in the place where the heart of the fierce fire dragon was. The next second, a gorgeous figure with a pair of golden red wings shot up from the chessboard, flying above the entire star map with infinite golden red flame. It was a crimson fire dragon, an overlord fantastic creature in the fire starfield. There were a big red gem and 2 small red gems on its forehead, which stood for the source power of fire. A stocky red horn covered its head like a big cutter wheel, wrapped around by countless red and black flames. On its huge red wings and under its strong lower limbs, there were thick exoskeletons protecting its body. The fierce red scales on its body were vivid, far clearer than the shadow of the god of death black mage just summoned. Its dragon eyes looked like a pair of lava pools, endless evil auras were boiling inside of them, announcing the dragon's identity. Its scales sparkled like the crystals of fire with vague black lines on them, which stood for the road of power it had chosen. It was once a pure-blooded crimson dragon, the lord of fire, but it wallowed in degeneration, indulging in wanton massacres in the mortal world. Because it was a pure-blooded crimson dragon, after being infected by demon air, it became a fire demon dragon that was much stronger than any real crimson dragon. It wasn't being lured by the abyss, but degenerated into the deepest side of hell of its own free will. It proactively accepted the aura of destruction and tyranny, turning into the avatar of greed and madness, rat halos. Since its projection was summoned by Orfina's Sanctuary of Fire, appearing on the unknown star map, it meant that the fire demon dragon had controlled a trace of rules of the immortal, leaving its projection in the history of the endless gods' domains. Orfina believed that once she successfully summoned this fire demon dragon, rat halos, the victory would be right in her hands. Till she saw the golden red phantom. Yes, the figure with a pair of golden red wings was just a phantom. To be precise, it was just a vague concept. From the outline of its body, it should be a golden red bird. However, Orfina never saw such an ornate, bright golden, mythical bird. The mythical bird was surrounded by endless spirits of fire, and it had 3 legs. There was nothing around the bird apart from the infinite flames. Looking at it, Orfina confirmed that it was the strongest, most beautiful fantastic creature she had ever seen. The sun-like 3-legged mythical bird wasn't recorded in the books of dragons, it was a new, unknown, ultimate fantastic creature. It stood for the source of life, the highest mystery that could never be touched and studied. Its golden red wings could cover the entire world, flying above the 33 heavens. It raised its head, looking around, and any place that it was looking at started to burn. Even the rock under the ground started to boil, becoming a sea of lava. Above the boiling sea of lava, countless spirits of fire flew to it, danced and sang around it. Golden spirits of light were born and turned around it, waiting for its orders. The fire demon dragon, rat halos, just formed on the chessboard and hadn't announced its appearance with an ear-splitting roar. It had been surrounded by endless flames. Its body was theoretically immune in the face of any fire, but now it was ignited and turned into golden red particles, disappearing in the air. The golden red mythical bird just waved its wings. Countless golden lights had pierced through the body of the fire demon dragon like the sharpest swords, turning it into ashes. All the areas on the star map were covered by endless solar storms. One black point after another appeared and exploded in the golden red world of fire. There were sunspots, generating from the strongest light and heat. Sunlights could breed new lives, they could also destroy everything and burn everything. As the fire of the sun dropped onto the ground, all lives would melt. Only the spirits of fire and light could dance around the mythical bird above the 33 heavens. It was an ultimate fantastic creature that no mortal could touch. It had superpowers, and was also surrounded by infinite loneliness. It was a god that would be born in the future called Immemorial Era. It was the ultimate fantastic creature that would cause the havoc called 10 suns cover the sky. What Orfina saw was the sun, the strongest sunwalker in the future. It could never descend into the mortal world and could only live above the 33 heavens, otherwise, its light and heat would burn the entire world into ashes. During this era, it hadn't been born yet, but its concept had formed, and it had a name. The starry sky chessboard caught a fragment of the future and predicted its birth, then Yunshi found its existence from the star map and summoned it by using Orfina's Sanctuary of Fire. Darkness had been expelled from the star map. The entire chessboard was covered with beautiful golden red lights. On the vast star map, no other colors were still existing. It wasn't the disaster of sky and earth, but a new ultimate KO Orfina hadn't seen before but really existed. Most stars were crushed and disappeared in the endless explosions of sunspots. Only a few stars whose orbits were far away from the sunspots dodged the disaster, following around the newborn golden red light in the center of the world. After destroying most things on the star map, the golden mythical bird finally folded its wings, rested on its sun and looked at the past through the chessboard. The golden red bird should just be a KO on the star map, it couldn't really be an existing life. However, Orfina saw wisdom from the eyes of the mysterious golden red bird and mystery which was as great as her mother. What is this fantastic creature? Orfina looked at the golden red figure who burned her fire demon dragon into ashes and swallowed the entire Sanctuary of Fire. She was really shocked. It was just a vague outline, its true body didn't even really appear on the chessboard, it had dominated the entire star map. Its absolute power made Orfina feel helpless. Does this fire-type fantastic creature really exist in the history of the endless gods' domains? No, it can't be a simple fire-type fantastic creature. From the body of the golden-red mythical bird, Orfina sensed the power of stars, which was similar to her power but was far stronger than her power even if she transferred into her ruby dragon form. Her true body could turn into a gem star under the aegis of her great mother, Yasha the dragon god. The weight of the gem star was 59.610 quintillion. Even if she simply moved her body in the void, her body would cause gravitational tidal effects on other stars nearby her. The gem star was her core, the source of her legend-ranked power. She herself was the most terrible war machine in the dragon god's domain, a moving natural disaster. She and another dragon god's apostle, Thanatos the lair of dragon, were the ultimate forces of the dragon race. Her true body was too big, so she was sleeping in the emerald dream most of the time. If she wanted to go outside, she would use this human form avatar she was using now. She never imagined that there would be any fantastic creature that was bigger than her true body and more beautiful. Even if it did nothing, it deserved to be worshipped by all creatures. It was the sun, the flame above the 33 heavens, the god ruling the world. People must kneel down in front of it, praise and believe in it, creating countless poems and tales for it. The land that was shone by its golden red light, the legend of it would be eulogized forever. In the future, it had countless names, because it was so distinguished, so beautiful, so holy. Anyone who saw its appearance would think it was the avatar of immortality. I don't know, Yunshi was dumbfounded too. Looking at the mythical bird who was pecking its feathers, he had a feeling that he just summoned a very strong fantastic creature. What a miracle, the starry sky chessboard. I haven't even reached the hero rank, but can actually summon this unknown beautiful bird by using the sanctuary of fire. Yes, it was all due to the starry sky chessboard. Yunshi didn't think that he had any relationship with it. After all, it looked like a bird that only exists in fairy tales. However, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Did it just look at me? Oh, again, it's staring at me. Wait, isn't it just a projection? How can it have a sense of itself? No fear. Don't panic. I'm not using my own body but teacher Cassina's avatar. Outside of the starry sky chessboard, on the peak of the eastern god's domain, in the world of countless fantastic creatures' homeland, all living beings suddenly had a feeling that something was going to happen. In the sky, countless golden red lines spread around the sun, as if something terrible was going to be born from it. In the North Sea, the ancient giant creature, Kuan, leaped from the water in the form of a whale, then flew to the sky in the form of a rock. However, its feathers were burned by roasting about halfway. It was scared and immediately dived into the sea. A group of Supanas flew to the sun from the western god's domain. However, they couldn't withstand the temperature of the golden red particles around the sun, shouted and wrangled. Only the feather snake who didn't have a physical body could get close to the super being who hadn't born, hovering around it. In the east, the green dragon looked at the terrible scene and became lost in thought. In the west, the white tiger looked up at the figure in the sky, itching for a try. In the south, the princess rosefinch chattered with its family dependents, flying to the sun. In the north, countless ancient words emerged out from the old turtle's black shell. West Queen, is it she? The master of the Kunlun god's domain, the mother of all fantastic creatures, West Queen answered, yes, this child is going to wake up. Her name is Golden Sun Crow. She will be the most beautiful star in the future, the origin of the immemorial era. As if time itself stopped when Yunshi summoned the golden bird. For the first time, Orfina started to wonder if she was really the favorite of stars. Where am I? What am I doing? Who is my opponent? Is this Cassina a fake? In my memory, Cassina can't be so strong. Cassina is the invincible battle god in the mystery word the Battle Gods Championship contest. However, how can she be so strong in this mystery world, the starry sky chessboard? They are two distinct worlds. Yunshi was confused too. He knew it was just a projection on the chessboard, however, he had a feeling that it was looking at him. Although its era hadn't started and it hadn't been born, they had had an unknown relationship. Oh, this is really not good. Maya had the same feeling. Amongst the three roads Yunshi chose before, A road which had been closed suddenly had the sign of being activated. Beyond the beginning of obscurity, at the first second of being born of the world, a being named Primordial was born. Here is the place where the Stele of the heavens fell asleep. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.